Namaste and hello. Welcome to Fusion 2020 by Queen's University's We Can project. This event has been 6 months in the making, and we are thrilled that you can join us today. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Hesp, your co-host for the morning. I'm a certified business and career transition success coach and strategist, and owner of Elizabeth Hesp Coaching and Consulting. I enjoy helping professionals and entrepreneurs confidently transition changes with solution-focused strategic action plans. My experience as an immigrant in Canada and as an arts entrepreneur have shaped my new pro bono business and career coaching program, Success Kingston, supporting those new to my city. My philosophy for success: the impossible is often possible when we learn to become comfortable with the uncomfortable. Rumi, the 13th century Persian poet, is quoted to have said, "When you walk on the way appears." Being a business owner can feel very purposeful, but at the same time, it can also be isolating and overwhelming. The We Can projects focus programming and resources for underrepresented female entrepreneurs creates a supportive community that paves the way to our entrepreneurial success. I'm glad to be part of Fusion 2020. It's an inclusive space to hear the voices of racially diverse female entrepreneurs share their inspiring business stories. I believe it will create a new rhythm of cross-cultural connections and learning for us, while widening our perspective on the vision, tenacity, and resilience of our remarkable speakers. My wonderful co-host today is Dr. Aba Mortley. Aba, who has her roots in Trinidad, came to Kingston to study engineering at Queen's and completed a doctorate from the Royal Military College. She is a passionate entrepreneur for all things organic and the owner of Cher-Mere Day Spa in both Uptown and Downtown Kingston, where you will feel pampered and indulged. A busy mother of 4, she finds time to volunteer on the boards of various organizations in the city and at Queen's University. Aba also organizes and facilitates Let's Talk Kingston, panel discussions on race-related experiences in our community. She brings her positive energy to every conversation, accompanied by her brilliant smile. It is a pleasure to co-host with Aba today. Fusion 2020 opens with a land acknowledgement by Chantal Fraser and a commissioned spoken word presentation by award-winning poet Abena Beloved Green Tufo. We will then welcome our keynote speaker, the amazing Nadine Spencer, CEO of Brand EQ Group and President of Black Business Professionals of Ontario, to take the virtual stage, followed by 15 minutes question time with her. Then our spotlight speakers, Melissa, Emma, Shamsa, Khartoum, Shanice, Lucy, and Aba will be each sharing their business stories with 15 minutes Q&A time with you. Our event ends with question time with Kerry Ramsey, project manager of the We Can project, and our speakers. We request you to stay till the end and engage and share your own stories during the Q&A time. Aba and myself, thank you for your support and your presence for Fusion 2020. Thank you. And now on to my co-host, Aba Mortley.
Hi, sorry about that. I was muted by Carrie. Anyway, morning, everyone. Thank you, Elizabeth. My name is Aba Mortley, and I'm the co-host today. And I'm so honored to be here sharing this space with so many amazing women, starting with my co-host, Elizabeth Hesp. Transformation, ingenuity, resilience, and success are in Elizabeth's DNA. Elizabeth came to Canada as a new immigrant 25 years ago. She taught herself fine art photography, and if that wasn't enough, she became an entrepreneur to sell her interior art in a manner that was unheard of before with great success. She now coaches others to help them confidently transition in life, career, and in their business. I came to Canada to go to university at Queen's, where I took engineering, followed by a master's and PhD at the Royal Military College of Canada. My mother's from Trinidad, and she's been creating natural beauty products for over 30 years. And I decided that I wanted to open a spa in Kingston using our products 8 years ago, and it's been quite the journey. So I'm happy to see that all these resources specifically for BIPOC businesses are here so that we can connect, network, and support each other. I think this is truly a gift. With my background in engineering, fusion connotes such a powerful sentiment, a coming together of elements to generate a powerful energy. That is what today is to me, a vessel for women to come together and to generate something bigger than we could ever be individually, to support, to share, to listen, to advocate, and to connect with each other. Today's event is packed full of amazing women just doing that. I'm looking forward to hearing Nadine Spencer speak to the wealth of information she has been privy to in her role as the EO of Brand EQ Group and the president of the Black Business and Professional Association. My spirit is looking forward to the words that are to be spoken by Abena and to the experiences of all the speakers today, Melissa, Emma, Shamsma, Katoum, Shanice, and Lucy. I hope that you and everyone who joins in today are so inspired and so motivated that you will trust us and be the heirs to listen to your questions and answers at the end of this session. Welcome everyone to Fusion. Today's event is made possible by WeCan Project, which is led by Queen's University and funded by FedDev Ontario through the Women Entrepreneurship Strategy Ecosystem Fund. The mission of WeCan Project is to equip and empower existing and inspiring women entrepreneurs by providing them with resources, expert mentors, and networking opportunities to expand existing businesses and to form and to launch new ventures. Its focus is to provide support to women entrepreneurs from diverse and unrepresented groups and sectors. For those of you who wish to use the services of the ASL interpreter, Carrie has dropped a note in case you missed that at the beginning of the session as to how you may go about pinning that to your screen. And this will allow you to follow them with more ease through today's event. They've also asked while the speakers and the keynote speakers are presenting that if you can keep your video off, so it will make it easier for those who would like to access these services.
Thank you, Aba. We now begin Fusion 2020 with a land acknowledgement by Chantal Fraser. Chantal Fraser is the owner of Empowered Path, located on traditional Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee territory in a community known today as Quinte West. A 28-year veteran of the Canadian Armed Forces, she is now a professional speaker, coach, mentor, and strategic advisor. We welcome Chantal to the virtual floor.
Thank you. As a woman with French, English, Haudenosaunee, and Métis ancestry, I'm honored to ask you to join me in acknowledging that we are meeting on lands that have been inhabited by Indigenous peoples from the beginning of time. Please take a moment to be grateful for the opportunity to meet here and to thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. I ask you to join me in recognizing and appreciating the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples' historic and modern day connections to the places we live, work, learn, and play. Consider taking a step forward in our shared journey of reconciliation by investing your time in learning more about First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples in our communities. I'll share a few links in the chat for you to explore on your own time later. Thank you.
Thank you, Chantel, and thank you so much for raising our awareness. Aba, on to you.
Thank you. I have the pleasure and the privilege to introduce this morning Abena Beloved Green Tufo. She's an award-winning poet, freelance writer, and a dancer from Belleville, Ontario. She's also the owner of Tambourine Boutique, a storytelling studio that fosters creativity and wellness through words and movement. We are thrilled that Abena will be performing a work of commissioned poetry written especially for today's event. Abena uses spoken word to create, engage, and elevate. Her poems address cultural, social, and environmental issues, relationships, and reflect on everyday life as a small town-raised, semi-nomadic, first-generation Canadian. Her first book, The Way We Hold On, was published by Pottersfield Press in 2018. Please join me in welcoming Abena Beloved Green Tufo to our virtual stage today. Welcome, Abena.
Thank you. Can I turn on my video? It says I can't start my video yet.
Oh, there you go, Abena. Sorry about that.
There we go. Am I here? Well, thank you so much for that lovely introduction. And thank you, WeCan, for inviting me and having me write a piece for this. I'm really excited. I'm still trying to, still says failed to start. Okay, let's see, start my video.
You should be able to request now, Abena. Try it again.
Oh, okay, I know what's happening here. There we go.
See you.
Hello, everyone. Okay, so yes, I've said my thank you for having me. I feel the excitement, the energy already. So let's get into this poem. When did you know that you were a boss girl? Or do you sometimes feel like an imposter? For a long time, I doubted that this path was for me. I often feel illiterate. So many concepts never taught in school, capital, boards, taxes, deductibles, profits, interest, so many floating pieces, not enough clarity, too much risk. It was like being thrown into orbit with unfamiliar planets. I couldn't find the oxygen to suit up with, didn't have the confidence to blast off of the only stable ground I knew. Be focused and respectable, and someone will choose you. In university, the business students were mostly young men in their 20s. On presentation days, they walked the halls in clusters of 4 and 3, wearing dark colored suits and slicked back hair. They too were foreign planets. I didn't see myself in their company. I thought profit was synonymous with greed. I wanted to be a humanitarian. There was a time I was working bottom rung retail with 2 degrees. After 3 or more hours on my feet, I had 15 minutes to rest. But 15 minutes won't allow you to digest. It's barely enough time to ingest your food after losing 1 minute just walking to the break room, 2 minutes at the microwave, 3 minutes using the bathroom. This leaves 9 minutes to eat, rest, breathe. 15 minutes was not going down well, but I used to tell myself I wasn't a numbers person. When did you know you were a boss? Who would have thought you'd have a business card with your name on it, a domain name, a business plan, a marketing strategy, and a brand? Girl, you're fancy. What brought you here? Was it opportunity? Did you see a need you could fill and know you had the skills to build, trusting that folks would come? Or maybe you were raising young ones and wanted to be there to water them while nurturing your need to contribute to that offering within you. What brought you here? Was it disaster? A life reduced to smoke and the scent of devastation? Did circumstance belch you beyond the borders of the place you called home? Did having nothing to lose make it worth the risk? It's a trip of heart and hustle, mentorship and mental muscle. It's a pivot to purpose. And today, I see what I didn't all those years ago. I see that it's possible to become a numbers person or to hire an accountant, but still know what's going on. I see it's possible to run a business and feed your family. It's possible to recover from a fall. And I no longer think business and think greedy men in suits. When I think of business, I think of people like you. Afia Beauty, Alamal Baklava, Improbable Escapes, Cher-Mere, Elizabeth Health, Elizabeth Hesp, Nadine Spencer, Munchie Guru. I see a new power trip where bosses look like this. Differently abled, multilingual, multi-toned, local and internationally grown. And seeing you affirms that this path can be for me. So take your well-earned hour of rest or stick to 15 minutes. It's up to you, woman. It's your business. The end. Yes, thank you for the snaps. Snaps right back to you.
That was amazing. I thought profit was synonymous with greed. I didn't see myself with them. It's a pivot to purpose. When did you know you were a boss? Thank you, Abena, for such a powerful rendition this morning. I know that it resonated with everyone, and what a great start to our session today.
Thank you, you're welcome.
Abena, thank you so much. When you asked, why do we do this? Is it for our children? It was a very touching moment for me as a mother of 2 teenage daughters. And it shows all the reasons that we become who we are. And I'm feeling very grateful being in this space, sharing it with you and everyone else. Thank you for that, Abena. We go on to welcome a very special rock star in the business world, Nadine Spencer. We are honored to welcome Nadine Spencer, CEO of Brand EQ Agency and president of the Black Business and Professional Association, as our keynote speaker this morning. As CEO of Brand EQ, a global agency specializing in social change marketing, communications, and public relations, Nadine has accelerated strategic growth and brand visibility for a diverse client portfolio. She also pioneered Brand EQ Black, Brand EQ's cultural sensitivity arm, whose goal is to work with organizations and governments to look at racial biases in advertising and marketing. Nadine also serves as president of the Black Business and Professional Association and has been acknowledged in the publication 100 Accomplished Black Canadian Women. A dedicated Black community champion, Nadine devotes her time and work to fighting discrimination, battling poverty, and advancing women's education, including equality for women and girls of color and other relevant topics relating to the uplifting of society's marginalized people. She holds a BA in political science with honors from York University and serves on the York Alumni Board. Before I hand the mic to Nadine, I would like to also mention that you, our audience, are welcome as you listen to Nadine. Put in your questions into the chat, and then we will have a Q&A session with Nadine after her speech for about 10 minutes. Nadine, welcome to Fusion 2020. The virtual floor is all yours.
Thank you so very much, Elizabeth, for that incredible introduction. Thank you so very much. You know, just hearing Abena just now was just so moving and inspiring. You know, she really resonated every entrepreneur's journey, and it's full of possibility and hope. And I want to just open up with thanking you for sharing that. It really resonated with my heart. You know, I want to thank We Can for inviting me to share my story with you, because it's through stories that we learn about each other. And I'm so thankful that you are open to hearing another perspective, you know, the female entrepreneur's perspective. And so for me, when I hear that, you know, you're heroes, I'm going to just share my screen with you now, and bear with me. I'm in office on my own, but I can do this. I got this. Now, after hearing Abena's presentation, I totally have this. Yes, because, you know, we're heroes at Queens. When I looked at the women who would be participating, I thought that it's a heroic move when you invite a Black woman to come and speak, because we still are not there yet. As we continue to work, we recognize that we're not there yet. So I thank you. You are heroes, because the We Can mission is to inspire and empower existing and aspiring women identifying entrepreneurs by providing them with tools, resources, expert mentors, networks, and community building to expand existing businesses and launch new ventures. That is a heroic act. That's a heroic mission. So I applaud the entrepreneurs here today and the two co-hosts. Aba, owner of Cher-Mere, I have to visit there when I make a visit to Kingston. It sounds incredible. And also Elizabeth Hesp, owner of Hesp Coaching and Consulting. Also, I want to thank Carrie Ramsey from We Can for just your leadership in this space. You know, as I say, it takes courage, and you're heroes. As a leader in an agency that exists to amplify the voices of our audience, especially underserved communities, the idea of women entrepreneurship strategy, ecosystem fund that works to address gaps and build capacity in entrepreneurship ecosystem for women takes courage and intention. And this, my friends, is a heroic one. So all stories have a hero, and even heroes have challenges. I really like and admire the work of Joseph Campbell, who writes a monomyth, and it's called The Hero's Journey. There are 17 stories in The Hero's Journey. I will not go through all 17 of them today. But it is through stories that we understand each other. And when we engage in a story, you know, whether it's a novel or a film or a documentary, or even just seeing others, because we learn from other people's story, we see who we want to be, who we don't want to be. And in a way, the stories transform us. And so as we journey along the hero's journey, we realize that we too are the characters, the lead characters in our own lives. You are the heroes of your story, just like I've been the hero of my own story. Your life is your story, and the adventure ahead of you is full of purpose and potential. So here's the thing. The hero's journey begins with the call. One way or another, you get the call, whether it's from a mentor or something happens. In film, they call it the inciting incident. It's something that happens profoundly in our lives that makes us take a path, and we continue on that path. There's an aspect to your consciousness that in this inciting incident, we say we have to get up and go, we have to move. And also it's an invitation out of our comfort zone into our strength, because, you know, by definition, being a hero requires pushing beyond the bounds of comfortable into the uncomfortable. So I'd like you to come on my trip. Come on my trip with me. Whenever I hear my bio read, like Elizabeth read it today, I think, who's that woman? Who's that woman? Because my story goes back to being a 12-year-old girl that I became an entrepreneur from the age of 12. And, you know, it was asked, you know, when do you know you're a boss? I knew I was a boss when I got through my entrepreneurial journey at the age of 12. So when I hear my bio, I'm always profoundly struck by all the things I've done as an entrepreneur, because when you hear where I started, it wasn't, I would not have been that person. So my hero's journey started, my inciting incident. I was 12 years old. This is one of the early photos of me when I was 6. My mother moved to Canada. And of course, you know, when you, as a new immigrant to Canada, so she left a lot of the things. And this was the only photo that I have of me as a young girl. And it was my passport photo. So in 1979, my mother moved to Canada. She moved to Canada, like, you know, a lot of new immigrants from Jamaica, to what she would imagine would be a better life for her family. We had assets in Jamaica, and Jamaica had a good life. When I lived in Jamaica with my mom, I remembered being driven to school with the prime minister's kids, with a driver that picked me up every day. But when my mom moved to Canada, she left me with a friend of hers as a caregiver who she thought would, you know, take the best care of me. The woman did not. She took me out of school and she would send me to the marketplace to buy these cakes called bammy. In Jamaica, they call them bammy. And in my 12-year-old mind, it probably was maybe 10 miles or so. But in my 12-year-old mind, it was like from Toronto to Kingston. That's how I kind of thought about it. But what's interesting is that she sent me with enough money to buy the cakes, but no money for food to come home or my bus fare home. How she thought I was going to make it, I don't know. But, you know, I got to the marketplace, which somewhat looked like this. And very quickly, I thought to myself as I walked around, how am I gonna get home and how am I gonna buy food for the day? I didn't remember having breakfast. And so I saw one woman and I negotiated with her that I would buy 13 cakes for the price of 10, and we agreed. Then I had a little bit of money left over and I went and I bought parchment paper, or a brown paper bag it was. And I went to another place in this marketplace and I sold the cakes and I made money. I made money for myself, and I made enough money that I could come home for my bus fare, and I made enough money for lunch. And it was in that marketplace in Spanish Town Market that I realized my skill as a 12-year-old, that I was able, at the time I didn't know I was an entrepreneur. However, 4 things I learned, lessons I learned that day. I learned that no matter where you are and whatever your circumstances are, there's always solutions. I learned that solutions involve people, and making a case to these people to talk about, you know, what your needs are, and a commitment to loyalty, as I did with the woman that day in the marketplace, and to observe and listen, look at the environment around you. And what I also learned that day is critical thinking. So I'm going to share a story with you about Edward de Bono. As I grew, and then, so when my mother realized that this was happening, she came to Jamaica, and then she realized this was happening, and immediately she brought me to Canada. But she didn't know it was happening when she was in Canada, because the woman would pen my letters. Dear mommy, I'm happy, everything's wonderful, everything's okay. And so my mother would read this and then, you know, and thought everything was okay. So when my mother came to Canada, came and got me, she quickly, you know, brought me to Canada, and I didn't go to school for a year because at the time I wasn't landed. But what's interesting, when I went to university at York University, I remember taking a course and I learned the theory of Edward de Bono and critical thinking. And I want to share one story with you, because the use of critical thinking with Edward de Bono, I realized that that 12-year-old girl in the marketplace had a similar story like Edward de Bono's girl in the black and white pebble story. So the story goes, many years ago, when a person who owed money could be thrown into jail, a merchant in London had the misfortune to owe huge sums of money to a lender. The money lender was old and ugly, and he fancied the merchant's teenage daughter. He proposed a bargain. He said that he would cancel the merchant's debt if the girl instead would marry him. Both the merchant and his daughter were horrified at the proposal. So the cunning moneylender proposed that they let Providence decide the matter. Told them that he would put a black pebble and a white pebble in an empty money bag, and then the girl would have to pick one of the pebbles. If she chose the black pebble, she would become his wife and her father's debt would be canceled. And if she chose the white pebble, she would stay with her father and the debt would still be canceled. But if she refused to pick out a pebble, her father would be thrown in jail and she would starve. So what are the odds? She thought, I'm going to have to take this pebble out of the bag. So reluctantly, the merchant agreed. They were standing on a pebble path in the merchant's garden. And as they talked and the money lender stooped down to pick up 2 pebbles, he picked up the pebbles. The girl's sharp eye noticed with fright that he picked up 2 black pebbles and he put them in the money bag. He then asked the girl to pick out the pebble to decide her fate. Imagine this story. So the girl thought, what am I going to do? I can't call him out for cheating. So what she did was she put her hand in the bag and she picked the pebble. And before she could open up her hand to show the pebble, she falls on the ground and she goes, "Oh, clumsy me! I'm so sorry." So she said, "But never mind. If you will be able to tell the pebble I picked in my hand by looking at what's in the bag." So the merchant obviously couldn't have called out that he cheated. And when they looked in the bag, there was the black pebble. And she said, "Well, I must have picked the white pebble." And there it was, when I read about the De Bono story and that young woman so brilliantly escaping her fate, that was my fate. And I've always used critical thinking as an entrepreneur. It's another way of looking at a situation and at a problem. So 20 years later, I am in Canada. I've launched a business. It's called Finer Foods. This product in my hand, it made it to the Oprah list. 2 of our products that we had have made it to the Oprah list. And that came from the tenacity and the work that I've done as an entrepreneur. These are the various titles they call me: entrepreneur, social advocate, educator, all of those things. But when I hear these different titles, I always go back to being that girl, 12 years old, in the marketplace. So as an entrepreneur, I'm the CEO of Brand EQ Agency. As you heard Elizabeth say, I sit on numerous boards, I manage numerous businesses. But I always think through all of the things that's happened. I remembered many years ago, I was working in a project in Honduras. I don't speak Spanish, but there I was in Parliament negotiating for a special development region in Honduras. And again, I go back to being that 12-year-old girl, in the marketplace. I remembered being in Washington negotiating a deal with a gentleman, and I was on Pennsylvania Avenue. The White House was literally down the road, and there I am negotiating a deal with individuals from Ivy League universities. And one of the developers that was there, he said, "My company does $1 billion in revenue." And there I was, a 12-year-old girl on Pennsylvania Avenue. The irony is that, as Michelle Obama says, I live in a house built by slaves. And so the trajectory of my life has been working in these different areas. I use this picture here because we had an event at the BBPA, the Black Business and Professional Association, called the Dialogue with Black Women, during his International Women's Month. And this woman was a speaker there, and she was telling everyone years later that when I saw her, you can see she's Vice President of Technology Solutions at TD Bank. She said, in that room when she spoke that day, she said, there I was in this space, and here was Nadine Spencer, a Black woman, leading a group of 200 white women. And she said, because of that, I was able to continue and champion myself on my path to success. I believe in mentorship, and I believe in excellence, and in the excellence that we continue to build in our lives. It's what allows others to shine. As there's a saying that says, as you allow your light to shine, you also allow others to shine. And I want to just play this video for you. Let's hope I've got it right, because I might have to reshare my screen. Give me 2 minutes, thank you. There we go. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to put it in the chat. Thank you. And let me know if you can just give me a thumbs up if you can hear the video, okay? Please. Elizabeth, can you hear?
I cannot.
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Shit. The demons aren't gargoyles. They're not men with pointy noses and ears. They're other people's desires for your life. People who don't see you. People who stereotype you. People who take your pathology, your complexity, everything away from you. How you have to water yourself down in order to meet the standards of the community that is in charge, which is not mine. That's how it feels. And what is in my heart is, I cannot lead with bullshit. I cannot lead with lying. I cannot lead with the lying about what the road is out there.
And so I want to talk a little bit in my journey about what the road is out there, because that is the next area in which my life as an entrepreneur sets. I knew very early that I wanted to work with women entrepreneurs, because when you do the study of women entrepreneurs, the road ahead is very bleak. And when you also add to that the challenges that we have and the lack of supports, So the road ahead, you know, we're not on boards. We're not accessing loans as entrepreneurs and as Black women entrepreneurs. And I speak through this particular lens as president of the Black Business and Professional Association. I see the disparity. I remembered when I was the director for the Food Network Delicious Food Show, and I worked with sponsorships, and the same partners that would partner with big dollars. When I got to the Black community, it was even less. At the BBPA, we have a program called the Boss Women Entrepreneurship Training Program. A few weeks ago, when we started the program, in week 2, we were hacked by racists. And what did that look like? We had 62 women on the line. We were hacked, we were Zoom bombed and then hacked, and by people that, I think there was about 4 of them with a Nazi flag behind them. They looked at these awesome group of Black women entrepreneurs, and they called us cotton picking niggers. We should die like George Floyd. And they body shamed a lot of the women. It was one of the, I think, toughest things I've experienced, because here it is, we are in a space that we imagined that was safe, looking to build and grow and mentor these women, and this happened. But you know what? The women are resilient. When I hear Abena speak about the entrepreneur's journey, it really embodied the women in this group, resilient. They continued on every single week. They came back every single week, and now we are in week 2. They're all bosses, boss women. And so the road ahead is challenged. However, do you know what helps in the road ahead? When we look at systemic racism or systemic barriers that affects women entrepreneurs, Black women entrepreneurs. I myself, when I started my business, I used my credit line from my home. We work with a client right now. She borrowed money at 25% interest, and now her company is doing $9 million and she hires 60 people. But imagine that as a Black female entrepreneur, if she did not have that additional barrier of borrowing funds at 25% interest, but yet the resilience of who we are as women, as Black women, as you know, marginalized women, underrepresented people, we have the ability to make it. And so we work with the road ahead. And because of that, I really work in the space of diversity and equity and inclusion, because it is through that lens that we have to overcome the barriers and advance the success. And one of the things that I look at in terms of where systemic racism affects, you know, underrepresented groups is in the area of networks, capital, and, you know, government support. As you know, I was just working with the federal government on securing funds for $221 million with other groups across Canada. And so I work tirelessly at the table to make these things happen. So I think to myself, as a Black female entrepreneur, this is why I'm the president of the BBPA, because I remembered when I won my Harry Jerome Award right here. Always very proud to show it off. This is the award I got in 2016 for being a businesswoman. It's the highest award you can get in the Black community in leadership and accomplishment. And so I take that with me every day to work with and empower other entrepreneurs like myself to build and scale. So the 3 lessons that I want to share with you. Show up, always show up. No matter what it is, show up. When I showed up in Honduras for that deal, I did not speak Spanish. I just knew my value skill set that I had. And I knew from making it at 12 years old in the marketplace that I could make it anywhere. And so I showed up. From that showing up, I remembered the project grew to a $25 million project in the US, which I worked on. So that's the benefits of showing up. You know, when you don't show up, there's no opportunity, there's no possibility. But when you do show up, there are possibilities and there's opportunities. As Elizabeth said, she had this wonderful thing she opened up with about the water, something crossing the waves comes when you're on the water. And I say the opportunities comes when you show up. The next thing is choose growth over regression and dormancy. And the growth is education. The one thing I know for sure is that I need to know more. And when you continue to educate in business, know the trends, you'll always have that added advantage. The next is that change starts with you. No matter what it is, it begins with you, the individual. And as we look at the road ahead, we have to recognize that they say God given for some, your natural ability, that skill inside of you, it starts with you. And if we acknowledge and accept that, we build confidence, and then we work to move ahead and plow ahead with change. Always think about also the people you serve. For me, in our company, we have a concept that's called people matter. Everything we do, we think about the people. All the strategies, we think about who is this for, what is it going to mean to them, and how is it going to create a shift for the individuals. So we always think about the people we serve. And if we do that, if you can do that just first, in every instance, in everything you're doing as a business person, you will never go wrong with that. And to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, in the pit of your belly, you have to be okay with stepping out in your truth, stepping out with what is your purpose, and getting comfortable with being uncomfortable and having those uncomfortable conversations. When I talk about where the road leads ahead, and I talk about diversity and inclusion, that's one of the things that we really champion. We look for training, we look for allyship, and of course, connecting, because a lot of the opportunities that I've had in my business has come because of allyship and training and growth. I always like to say that, making money is great. I'm not going to say it's not. But when you can look at your bigger purpose, one of the things we did very earlier on in our company is to start, using a social justice campaigns and initiative, really looking at who do we serve, how are we going to make a point of difference. And when I look at the space of diversity and inclusion, I have a book that's now coming out in the next 2 weeks, and it's called Closing the Gap. And it's looking at diversity and inclusion and equity in the workplace, and how do we mitigate and manage unconscious bias? Because part of the growth of the entrepreneur's journey, when I think about a lot of the opportunities that I've had, it's being on boards. And as you are in certain spaces, I see a lot of women of color self-select out of corporate Canada because of unconscious biases, microaggressions, or as one of my colleagues says, macroaggressions that happens. Because the reason why I champion being on boards is that being on boards has made me a better business person. And also it allowed me the connections that I needed, and what I call the nuances of business success that I needed to apply in order to be a better business person. As they say in the US, they said that's what makes you bankable. And it's something that, the old boys club knows very well, but we as women entrepreneurs needs to have those special skills in order to learn the game and then participate and then support each other also. So in closing, I want to share my 7 points to the entrepreneur's journey, the success of the entrepreneur's journey. One is to show up. Always show up, as I said. Always be in the room, be at the table. And when you get in that room and you get to the table, don't sit in the back, sit at the very front of that room. When you get to that table, pull up a seat and sit right up at the front. Because, there's all the opportunities I've had in my career has always been by showing up. I mean, I have so many stories, but another time we can always have a fireside girls chat at Cher's spa and talk about it. Number 2 is be ready. Always be in the state of readiness. Just last week we had an organization that called and they wanted 3 entrepreneurs for a $10,000 grant. And they said, who do you have that's ready? We pulled the first 3 people that was ready. So always be ready. If you're going to meet Bill Gates tomorrow, or Oprah Winfrey, or any leading person in your industry that you're looking at, when you meet them, what is your state of readiness? That has served me very well, and I champion that. Next, always be willing to pivot. You have a business plan. The business plan is changing. It's like you're going on a trip and you have to, there's construction, so you have to detour. In the world of business, we have to be willing to find that new direction. Next, look your best. My mother, who was an entrepreneur, I remembered in days when I saw her having challenges. There were days when I knew she was having challenges, and she always looked fabulous. She just looked amazing. And I said, Mommy, I know you're having this issue, but you look so great. She says, Nadine, always look your best. And on your worst days, look your very best, because that's when you will have the confidence that you will need to take you through. And it has served me so many times. So always look your best. Know your number. So again, Abena, when you talk, is like, oh my goodness, did you see my speech? Because always know your number. So many times people says, what do you charge? What is your budget? What is this? And so many times I ask entrepreneurs, what is your budget? What do you charge? And there's no response. I don't know my number. How do you not know your number? How do you not know the value? The most important thing I want us to leave with today is always know the number for everything. What is your profitability? What is your rate of growth? What is your value? What is it you charge? Always, always know your number. Next, be obsessed, absolutely obsessed with excellence and a high standard for your business. Sleep it. In the shower, that's when I have my big moments. I never stop thinking about my business, and absolutely, completely obsessed about leaving and delivering excellence all the time. Next is to always innovate. The term is innovate or die. So look to morph into what the trends are, what's next, looking at what's next. Are you looking at the things on TikTok? There's so many, they say success leave clues, and innovation is the key to the entrepreneur's success. And most importantly, we must open the doors, and we must see to it that they remain open so others can pass through. My sisters, it is important that as we move ahead, that we leave room, create space for others to also be a part of our growth and success and camaraderie. I want to thank you so very much for having me here today. It's been an absolute honor and a privilege. And I'm so very inspired by the work of We Can and by all of the entrepreneurs here today. I thank you very much. And if there's any questions, please feel free.
Thank you so much, Nadine. It was so powerful, inspiring.
Thank you.
You are a role model for all of us. Each word you said, I was hanging on to them. It was resonating on every level. And my heart was beating in sync with every word you spoke. Just beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so very much.
We are very privileged and honored to hear everything that you shared with us. And I would like to once more repeat for the audience the 7 points you brought up. Show up. Be ready. Be willing to pivot. Look your best. Yes. Know your number. Be obsessed. Innovate or die. Words of truth. I would like to open the floor now to the audience and welcome your questions. Please type them in the chat and Nadine will answer your questions as they come in. So let me just see. So Nadine, I think I would like to go ahead with a question for you. You mentioned critical thinking, and you mentioned heroes being heroic. And you shared with us times when you had to apply that. And I'm just curious here, in terms of critical thinking, do you want to share with us an example that can be a takeaway for us in depth in just a few words?
Absolutely. I'll try to do this as quickly as I can. So here's an example in critical thinking. As you know, I owned a food company and we had a product that actually made it to the White House. And when the White House, I was in Washington, D.C. on a Canada trade fair. And I heard the White House chef was coming in, and this was under President Obama. And when the White House chef came by the booth, I heard he was choosing 6 products to take back to the White House. So as he gets to my space, I said, hello, welcome, chef. It's great to see you. I hear that you're here to select dinner for the president's menu tonight, and you're choosing 6 products. So now you will have, as you go around the show floor, you will be choosing 5 because this is one of them. And just like that, he took my product. My product made it to the White House. I had a thing in my office, but we were just renovating, so it's in the other room. And not only did it make it to the White House, but they ordered another batch for Camp David. And so as much as that sauce made it to the White House, marketing is so important. You know, then there was a dip in the economy, and then here I had all these sauces and they weren't selling. And I thought to myself, I have these sauces and they're not selling. The stores aren't buying because they can't buy because they don't have any money to buy. They don't have the extra money for the inventory. So I decided, I remembered my mother always said, in business, always give credit to good people. It's better to give credit to good people than let your goods spoil. And there I was paying money for the warehouse. And if I had to throw them out, that would have been, I would actually have to have paid disposal fees. So I called 60 stores across the province. And I said, we're going to send you the products on consignment at no cost. And when you sell it, you pay us. And we will come in and do a demo of the product because it's that good. Not only did all 60 stores buy the product and paid us for when they sold the product within the first few days, they ordered more and we moved all the product out of the warehouse. And that is one of the ways that I use critical thinking. And that really saved my business at that time.
Thank you for sharing that. It's amazing. Yes, this year has been extremely challenging for us. It's been historical for all business owners in terms of, you know, us trying to pivot in the moment and seeing what works individually as a team, for our companies, for our organizations, for our small businesses. And I think it has been a year of learning. And what you just shared with us, it just shows that as business owners, I think we're the most resilient group to be able to not only do things that we do in the moment and as our business grows and takes different directions, but also to face a year like 2020.
Yes.
We are the ones who are resilient. Thank you for that. I'm just going to check the chat, Nadine, and see if we're getting questions coming in.
Yeah, and I just want to say in the comment of COVID and 2020, again, one of the things that I've seen, so at the BBPA, when COVID-19 happened, we launched a business line, a 24-hour business line. And as the president, I answered those phone calls myself. I thought, I want to hear. And, you know, I think 80% of those phone calls were from women entrepreneurs. And the situation was just dire. But again, I go back to the resilience, because as I had conversations with the women, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock, Sunday mornings at 8, you know, that was when the challenges were happening and they were really struggling. But we talked through all the things that could happen. And you'll see now there's a booming catering business for entrepreneurs. That's because, again, we start at home. So we cook, we sew the masks. You know, oh my goodness, I have something to show you. So here is a woman who is part of our Boss Women Entrepreneurship Training Program. She makes these candles. It's called Cultivate. It's just incredible. She said, Nadine, as a therapist, I recognized that women would be having a lot of mental health challenges out of COVID. And I wanted to create an Afrocentric candle, a little bit of wellness, that when they're at home going through a tough time, even in the darkest of places, we can have light, not just light, but this wellness. It smells amazing. And here's this entrepreneur, this woman who makes these amazing products. Like this could have been on the Oprah list. This could be in Whole Renfrew. This could be at Harrods. Just amazing. So this is what's possible. In the darkness of COVID, this woman created this amazing product for the market. And so, I mean, obviously we're going to be ordering this as our gifting line, and they're not expensive. So listen, women, this is the possibility that lies within each and every one of us. I don't believe that the hard times will drown us, because I've been through it myself at the age of 12. My life could have been another story. But the fact is that as women, we're resilient, and I see that a lot. And so COVID, again, has inspired me, because when I see that someone can create this during COVID, it shows me the limitless potential that can be achieved when we support women entrepreneurs. And here she's got this great product without a marketing plan, but we're gonna help her. We're gonna help her do it, because it deserves the light. It deserves to be in mainstream.
That is just beautiful. And I would love to be able to get my hands on a candle like that and a gift like that. I mean, it just shows that we are women. We're nurturers, we're caregivers, we create at all levels. And to be able to see the positive in the negative, and then to be able to grow without, almost like breaking the glass ceiling, and feeling, that we are limitless. And what can be achieved with that. I think the word woman may embody resilience.
Yes.
So we have a question here from Josephine, and she says, thanks, Nadine. And she asks, what's your advice on how to get started for someone who has been in corporate for many years and is now looking to get into a service business? She mentions consulting during COVID. That is, with limitations on networking, etc.
Yeah, so I always, say that the one thing you want to do when you want to start a business is I believe in putting yourself as the face of the brand. If you remember many years ago, Loblaws really took off when Dave Nicholson, the president of Loblaws, do you remember that? When he would sit in his office, this was way back before all of this Zoom stuff, and he would have his camera and say, hey, I'm Dave Nichols from Loblaws, and I have the presidents of Chez Swan and all that. He personalized the brand by putting his face on it. So what you want to do, Josephine, is personalize your brand by putting your face on it and start on social media, start on LinkedIn. You would not believe the amount of connections and business I've gotten during COVID on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and now I'm making my way over to TikTok. I'm slowly making my way over to TikTok because, again, my daughter, who started a business, has had numerous opportunities in growing her business, including getting her product on the Kardashians platform with her ball pit. So again, you want to sort of look at your personal brand, make sure it's tight. I look at Aba here, and it's like, as soon as she came on screen, I thought, boom, you want to do business with people with a tight brand. Even our interpreter, like, I love her background. I love the black that she's wearing. The glasses are great. So it's these small things on your brand. I look at Elizabeth, same thing. The glasses are great, the scarf. So you always want to have some unique identifier in your brand that people are going to latch onto, and you start there. You start there in a very clear way, and then you're intentional. Not stalking people, but when you talk about what you're truly passionate about, you will build a tribe. You will build a tribe of people who will connect with you. And when you're purposeful, and when you are driven about truly wanting to solve people's problems. I remember I did a talk, and they said, well, what do you want to solve? What is the problem, and what do you want to solve? You always have to look at that and put yourself in the mix of that. And you know what? It's a daily thing. It is a daily, ongoing, intentional thing that you have to do. But during COVID, the best thing is social networking. And I don't know if you're on, Josephine. Are you on right now? Because I can't see you. My daughter was saying that, yesterday, she says, you want to be seen, you want to see and be seen. So I'm not sure if you're on.
I am on.
She's there.
Okay, I'm waving.
Yeah, I'll slide because I don't see you. Oh, there you are, Josephine. Hello, good, your camera's on, good. And so that's important as well. One of the things, we have a business, 2 entrepreneurs that won our pitch competition in our Boss Women's program. So they got a $2,500 grant immediately. And one of the women, we actually chose her to do a brand makeover on her company. And one of the things that resonated with us was that she was on camera, and it's really sad because the night when we were hacked by the racists, she said, because I have this whole thing in my drawer here at my office, you'll see I have red lipstick. I always have red lipstick because if in the 9th hour, you cannot like throw your look together, red lipstick always works. And we actually gave every single woman in the class a red lipstick. And so that night she came on and she said, oh, I've got my red lipstick on. And it just pained me that the racists had hacked the call at the time, because it showed that very small movement that, she was making. But again, she got the opportunity to have a free website, a free brand makeover because she was on camera. So if ever you have, I know in some cases you may not be able to, and Ophelia, thank you for showing up. I think it's really great when you can do that. So Josephine, those are my 2-second things.
Nadine, thank you for answering Josephine's question. I'm going to just put out another call. If anyone else has a question for Nadine, just type it into the chat. We have time for one more question. And Nadine, every word that you have been bringing through your speech and now in this conversation, Q&A conversation with us, I think it's not just resonating with me, with everyone else. And I'm checking the chat, and you are saying words that we tend to live as entrepreneurs, as female entrepreneurs, because of the barriers, as female entrepreneurs of color, from racially diverse backgrounds, marginalized communities, and I think it is a takeaway for us in terms of what you said about, you know, showing up and being ready, being willing to pivot, look your best, know your number, be obsessed, innovate or die, you know, and all of that is just so important, especially as we're transitioning from 2020 into 2021. I'm going to just check the chat if there is any other questions.
Yeah, Ophelia has one question. What advice would you give when your brand is yourself and not a specific product? I provide training on grief and mental health and wellness. Yeah, so, you know, very similar to the woman who made the candles. I think what's interesting, when your brand is yourself and you have a service, it's really about your messaging. It's your messaging, it's your collateral. You know, for example, today I have as a takeaway the 7 points that'll be dropped in the chat. Okay, my team designed a graphic for everyone to have. And so that you can have that takeaway. And so, Ophelia, when you see that, you have to sort of extend outside of yourself and then have these other things that becomes a part of the brand, because obviously you can't be the person, there's not a tangible product per se, but the service is tangible. So again, it goes to the story you tell on your website, the stories you tell in social media, all of that becomes what I call your brand persona. You become your brand persona. You talk about mental health, you talk about wellness, and you live the purpose intention of the brand. And then if you can, you share stories, and maybe some of your stories are confidential in terms of your client, but you have what I call, you know, case studies. That's one of the things that we do in the work that we do in marketing and branding. And it's part of that innovation that I talk about. You know, people think that, you know, your marketing and your branding is just putting up the website and your logo, but all of that has to resonate with someone. That's why when you think about people first, and I think the final point to you, I'd like to say to you as well, Ophelia, is you think about the problem that you're solving and you talk about that solution. So one of the things I would advise you to do is on your social media, you put 10 steps to best mental wellness today or something like that, you know? Those are the things that you champion. And again, education is key. See what the trend is, see what the leaders and the experts are doing in that field. If you build a list of 10 experts in your field, have a look at what they're doing, because as I say, success leaves clues. And then you look at that and then you build your own messaging, you build your own strategy, your own unique value proposition around that.
Yes, so thank you for answering that question, Nadine. And we have one last question, this one from Elizabeth Lopez, and she says, "Hi Nadine, thank you so much for your presentation. Hope you can have a comment about my questions. How networking has helped you to grow your business, and what advice would you give for women who don't have English as their first language?"
So one is embrace your voice. Embrace your voice. When I was in the antiques business, I've had many careers. I'm Jamaican. We have like 10 jobs. We do 10 things. It's just the natural way. And I remember when I sold antiques, and what's interesting is I think the role that I do now is I look for value and I look for special qualities in things and people. No matter how they present, I find that unique strength inside them. And when we do photography, we pull that to the forefront. But I remember being in New York selling a table and it had a knot in the middle of the table. And I said to the woman, "You like that piece because of this special knot in it. That's why you love antiques." And so it's to champion your unique value the asset. So the fact that English is your second language, embrace it. Embrace it. And as you learn, that's okay, but you'll continue to embrace your first language. So that's one. I think the other part of your question is, how do you network, right? Is that
yes.
Given? Yeah.
How do you network when English is not your first language?
Yeah. So be and embrace it and be okay with that and be completely confident and don't apologize for it at all. Don't apologize for it. That's what makes you dynamic and special. when I came to Canada, I had a deep accent, which, you know, many people didn't necessarily like. When I was growing up, I stuttered. Can you imagine me, who I love to talk, spoke with a stutter? Can you imagine? How do I even do that? How did I navigate my way in that marketplace? But again, it's to Elizabeth, just really embracing those, what I call unique assets that you have, not being embarrassed, not being shy, and walking into a space and owning that, loving that just as you are, you know, as it is.
Thank you so much, Nadine. I think this is a lesson we all learn as we move through life, and then especially in our entrepreneurial journey, to embrace ourselves, to that we are enough, and we are whole, and we have something to say. Embrace your voice. Nadine, thank you so much. It has been a complete pleasure to listen to you, and thank you for answering the questions from our audience. We will now move on to introducing Kerry Ramsey, who is the project manager of We Can project, because Kerry has something to say to our audience, and the virtual floor is yours, Kerry.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Wow. I messaged Elizabeth and Aba during Nadine's speech and said, this woman is fire. I hope that you enjoyed that. Drop a little comment if you haven't already, just to send her some love over there in Toronto. Not an easy place right now with COVID and the restrictions happening in their area. So let's send some encouragement. Just so grateful and humbled by Abena's poem flowing into what you just talked about. And to echo, I love that idea that don't apologize for who you are. That's exactly what makes you different. That's exactly your strength. And I think as women, sometimes we overlook that. Oh gosh. So I got to get focused on what I'm here to do, which is to make an exciting announcement. I'm so thrilled today that we can use today's Fusion work event to kick off the Fusion coaching program. So this is a brand new coaching program, which is designed for 16 women of color in the greater Kingston region. And you can ask me later if you're considered in that geographic space. But today we are launching this as an opportunity. And don't look to your left, your right, because guess what? This is probably exactly for you today. So I want you to take in what I'm saying. If you had a business before COVID started, so you had an existing business and COVID has thrown you off track a little bit, or you've had to pivot, you've had to rethink. I heard Josephine's comments about rethinking just even what she's doing in her career and her business life. If that's you, then this might be a program for you. It's completely free. The coaching services are a combination of individual focused one-on-one, as well as group coaching. So the advantage is that you will have access to our 2 women business coaches who you're gonna meet in just a moment. I'm so excited to tell you who they are. As well, you have that camaraderie that comes with a group coaching session. So you know that I love our weekend sessions. I love these events. I also love our virtual cafes where we just talk about things. And particularly right now, we're so isolated, we're so disconnected in many ways that this opportunity with the Fusion coaching, for some of you, might be the turning point. I really believe it could be. And I'm so grateful to the 2 coaches who have come on board, and we've been able to hire with the assistance of FedDev Ontario through the We Can project to allow this to happen. So this opportunity involves 2 coaches, one of whom you have already met. So Elizabeth Hesp of Elizabeth Hesp Coaching and Consulting is one of our coaches. And as you have already heard, she is based in Kingston. She's a transition success coach and strategist for career, business, and life transitions. And if 2020 has shown us anything, it is that this is the year of transition. So for some of you, this may be just for you. So she's also worked as a consultant with many local organizations. So you might have heard of her in those spheres as well. As a coach, she helps her clients transition through times of change, and she gives them actionable strategies. So if, again, you sort of have in your mind in theory what you'd like to do, but you want some steps, That's what the coaching is for, to hold you accountable and to move you forward. So I should mention, she's also a member of the International Coach Federation. Elizabeth, did you want to just say a quick note about your involvement with the Fusion Coaching Program before we move on?
Thank you for that introduction, Kerry. Yes, I'm really looking forward to be part of this Fusion Coaching Program and the opportunity that it presents for the woman that will be able to use this coaching program and move forward into 2021. We've had a year of transitioning, pivoting, and I'm just curious and wondering what it will mean for us as entrepreneurs and professionals moving into 2020 and the opportunities that we are going to create for ourselves, the solutions that we are going to create for ourselves. And that's what coaching is all about. It is what is possible from within us and how we present that to our businesses, our communities, and to the world. I'm telling you this, 2020 has been a great year for me, even though we have been going through the experience of a pandemic and being isolated and socially distanced. It is not what is only happening on the outside, but it is what is happening on the inside. That's where the real solution lies. You heard Nadine speak, you had Abena talk about it too. It is the solutions that we carry within us is what coaching brings forward. As a coach, I do not add anything to you. I do help you to shift your perspective, find those solutions, and move ahead with your own fire.
I love it. I love that so much. So if you have already been inspired by today's events, Elizabeth is one of our two coaches. The other, Aileen Edwards from AME Consulting in Quinte West, is our second Fusion coach. And I'm so excited she's here. Let me tell you a little bit about her. She has already been a very active part of the Weekend community over the last few months. She is a certified coach and experienced human resources professional. She spent 30 years in the corporate world before deciding to leave and deciding to open her own business, which is exactly what she's doing now. She's coaching. And I think she's really happy not to be commuting anymore to Toronto, because she did that from Quinte West, I think, for all of those 30 years or most of them. She started AME Consulting to help businesses focus specifically on hiring, organizational strategies, and leadership. And I think we can all agree that those three are core to the success of any business, no matter what stage you're at. So Aileen, would you like to say a quick hello to the group? It's so great to have you on the call today.
Good morning. It is so exciting to be here. Thank you for having me. I am so excited to be working with all of you wonderful women out there, connecting this morning and listening to those inspiring sessions this morning. Thank you, Nadine. Thank you, Abena. Thank you, Aba. Your words of wisdom are just fantastic. So I'm really looking forward to helping all of you leaders, whether you're new or whether you're seasoned, create success by unlocking your potential. You know what? It's about maximizing your performance. And one of the things I want to talk about is the 7 points of Nadine. One of the things is just show up. Just show up. Come, be ready and be willing to pivot, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to explore. We're going to do one-on-one coaching in a supportive, collaborative way. We're going to explore what you already have within yourself, and you're going to tap into it. So I'm really looking forward to it. So thank you for having me.
So awesome. Don't you feel the energy from these women already? I'm so excited to be a part of this. And thank you to Elizabeth and to Aileen for leading the charge with Fusion Coaching Program. I just dropped a link, and you always hope it's the right link that you drop. So let me just make sure as I double check that, yes, it is correct. So that's our Fusion Coaching link. You don't have to fill it out during today's session by any means, but if you want to save it, put it aside. I'm also going to put my email address into the Zoom chat, and that will allow you to reach out to me directly if you'd like to, maybe to find out a little bit more. I will let you know the deadline. Brace yourself. Next Friday, December 4th. December is next week, okay? I did a double take this morning when I knew that. So next Friday, December 4th by 5 p.m. is the deadline. So please don't wait. Get it done this week. And if you have any questions about whether you're eligible, let me just reiterate. The program is designed for women of color who live in the greater Kingston region. Ideally, they had an existing business before COVID began, were kind of knocked sideways by that, and are now looking not just to survive, but to thrive and to gain momentum again and get back on track. If anyone can help you with that, Elizabeth and Aileen can. Again, there's no charge for this. This is entirely funded by FedDev Ontario. So our thanks to them again. So if you have any questions, I'll drop my email into the chat today. Thank you to Elizabeth and Aba as well for giving me this time to promote the Fusion Coaching Program. Back over to you.
Perfect, thank you. And that's wonderful news. And I hope everyone takes advantage of the program. Don't forget December 4th. And today we're gonna move on to the next part of our Fusion session today, which is a showcase of women-owned businesses. We'll be hearing from four women-led businesses in the greater Kingston region, and each business has been founded by a woman of color and is rising to meet the challenges of our time with innovation and dedication. Our first spotlight business is Improbable Escape, which is co-owned by Emma Rochon and Melissa Eapen. Melissa sits on me with several and a few boards, and I think Melissa is amazing, and I think I look forward to hearing all the things that she has to say. She owns Improbable Escape, which opened its doors in downtown Kingston in the summer of 2015. The business quickly grew to be an entertainment and activity hub in Kingston. Today, they continue to pursue partnerships and create pop-up experiences in Kingston for Kingston visitors, residents, and also I'd add, she also co-owns maybe Wonderland Escape, which is in the West End. So they do board games as well as similar type of games as they do in Improbable Escape. So there's a cafe where you can, I guess not rent maybe now, but maybe they can ship to your home and you can use a variety of games and have a nice experience with some friends. And so with that, welcome, Melissa.
Thanks, Aba. So as Aba said, I am one of the co-founders of Improbable Escapes, and we have our 2 locations. I think the best way to describe kind of how I got here is to tell you a bit about my story. So I think there's often the stereotypical question of when you knew as a child you were going to be an entrepreneur or a small business owner. I never had that moment. So whenever I get asked that question, I'm always like, I have no idea. I didn't have that moment when I was a kid where I started selling things and knew that this was the life for me. I didn't really have that. I even have difficulty now calling myself an entrepreneur or a small business owner, just because it's been a passion project, I suppose, in the best possible way. So basically, as I mentioned, I never had that experience, but I always got bored really easily as a child, still now as an adult as well. I grew up in Toronto, an only child of immigrant parents from India. They definitely did the best they could and tried supporting me in the way that they thought was best, but they really had a certain vision for me. They wanted me to be a professional, either a lawyer, a doctor, you know, like the stereotypical Indian parents that just want the best for their child. And because of that, they really were against me kind of pursuing my own interests and really wanted me to just focus on math and science and just really do what they thought it would take for me to be successful. So needless to say, that was not, I guess, the path that I wanted to go into. I really loved art and fine art. I was always drawing, and I was really good at math, but I did not like science. So I kind of had those 2 interests, mostly in fine art. My parents did not like that. So for fun, they signed me up for fun math classes. So I was learning advanced calculus at a young age. That was their way of trying to pull me away from art. But in high school, I ended up applying for an art high school, like a magnet school, and I got in for visual arts. So I guess it's different than normal public schools where, you know, you have like your mandatory course that you have to take every year. For visual arts, you also have to take a mandatory set of visual arts courses every year. And it was so great. The high school I went to was phenomenal. And I got to study a lot more than just fine art, but media arts and photography and film. And it would just kind of got my feet wet in learning so many different skill sets when it comes into art. And I really wanted to pursue art. My parents did not want me to pursue art, and they were very overprotective, and I'm an only child, so there was no one older than me to kind of pave the way for me. So they really wanted me to go into computer science. They thought that that was kind of, you know, the middle ground. I'm not going to become a doctor because I don't like science. I'm not going to become an engineer because I don't want to go too math heavy. So computer science, it's kind of tech based, there's math, whatever. So they heavily pushed me into it. I wanted to go into architecture just as like a kind of a balance between math and art. They did not consider that a professional job enough. So off to computer science I went. I went to University of Waterloo. If you're familiar with University of Waterloo, it is a great school, but it's also known for not exactly having much school spirit or social activities or anything. Like, you are there to study. I was one of 2 females in my class. Spoiler alert, we did not stay. That class did not have any females by the end of our year, but it was really not the experience that I wanted to have. At the time, you had to program by hand, not on a computer. So it was just really difficult to even understand how you'd be writing a program and to see how it would work, but you can't use a computer. And I didn't realize how much computer science was like learning a different language. Like, you had to learn how to speak essentially a different language to be able to survive. And it just wasn't for me. My parents didn't necessarily understand that at first. They just really wanted me to power through. But I think this is the first moment where I really learned that I needed to advocate for myself, that they didn't want to financially support me anymore if I were to quit computer science. And they thought that if I were to switch into anything else, I just wouldn't be as successful. So I kind of took a leap. I switched programs without telling them. I switched into psychology, and I got a full-time job right off the bat, so that if they did choose to not financially support me anymore, at least I would have my full-time job. So I was working a full-time job, went into psychology, loved it, loved learning about people, their brains, how their minds work, how people interpret situations around them. But at that point too, I still wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. It was kind of like my safe haven from computer science, but wasn't necessarily the career I wanted to go into. So I finished university, and then I went to college for pre-service firefighting. This definitely ties into I get bored very easily. So I went from university into college, went into firefighting, and it was the best educational experience I ever had. It was very hands-on, small class sizes, learned so much. Learned a lot about the building code, fire code, obviously how to put out fires, worked in vehicle extrication, so the jaws of life and everything. Was doing that for a bit, but unfortunately most fire departments in Ontario at that point signed on to a new testing system where you had to have 20/20 perfect vision or corrected vision, but you could not wear contacts. So you basically had to have LASIK to be able to work at a major city fire department. At the time, I did not want to move to a rural town to work as a firefighter. So off that career went. But at the time, when I was in school for firefighting, I started working in an escape room. It was kind of just a job that a friend of mine was working in. She thought it was kind of a weird job, but fun. It was the first escape room that opened up in Ontario, the second in Canada by less than a week. They're basically tied. And that's where I met my business partner. And it was a really toxic work environment. And we both would just kind of egg each other on to quit. Like, we knew that it wasn't for us. It was terrible, but we would always make jokes about how we could do it better. Like, we always knew we could do it better. Like, my business partner always said that she could design better games, even though we had no idea what we were talking about. And I was like, oh yeah, like, I feel like even the fine art aspect or the creative aspect and the math side would kind of work well. So sure. So on April 1st, 2015, we both quit on the same day, kind of as half a joke, but actually being serious. Our boss thought it was an April Fool's joke. That was terrible, but it was for real. And then we went our separate ways. She started working in accounting and I started working in property management. And then a few weeks later, we started taking it more seriously, like maybe we could actually do it better. So we moved to we didn't move. We came and started visiting different cities. We came to Kingston. We didn't know anything about it other than Queens and RMC was here. We were fresh grads at the time. We were quite young still. So my business partner was 22 and I was 23 at the time. And we came here and we fell in love with the city. Everyone was so nice. The city was beautiful. It was like a warm May day. It was May 7th, 2015. We saw our first commercial unit. We decided to jump in. We incorporated the same day. It was a small unit, about 1,200 square feet. And we moved to Kingston on May 30th of that year. And we opened doors at the end of June. We basically took all of our savings, which was not too much at the time. I think combined, we put in only 15,000 to get up and running. And it ended up being a really good return on our investment because now we're a multi-million-dollar company. So it worked out really, really well. We jumped in. We did not have a plan. I do not suggest doing that either. We had no business plan. We just kind of figured we would try it out. If we failed, at least, we would claim bankruptcy. We would recover before we turned 30, and that's fine. So we dove in, and it was an experience, but it paid off. The first years, a few months after opening, we started working with Fort Henry National Historic Site to create a pop-up experience. And then because of that, we had a whole plethora of pop-up games kind of come up. And so now we have a lot of partnerships with organizations such as Parks Canada, the Department of National Defense. We have games all around the world now. We quickly moved from our 1,200 square feet unit to a 7,000 square feet unit within a year, just across the street from our first unit. And now we have our second about 7,000 square feet unit in the West End as well. So we have been creating these immersive experiences, and they've been so much fun. Although it started with just the two of us, we pre-COVID had a team of almost 40. So we have a lot of set designers, electrical planners, graphic designers, and then we of course have our front lines, our game hosts. And it's been quite a whirlwind of fun. It's been a perfect match for the two of us. She's definitely a great puzzle designer. She's won a lot of awards over the past year. For me, I've kind of found the sweet balance between a creative job and a job that works with math, marketing. So I'm using the creative aspect as well as the analytical aspect, but every once in a while I take on an art project just to prove to myself that I can still do fine art. So I sculpted this entire room at Wonderland, the party room, by hand, just to prove to my team that I still knew how to art, even though they are much better artists than me as set designers. And at the same time as running Improbable Escapes, I started doing a lot of freelance work, started working as an influencer, got to travel the world, got hired to eat and write about Michelin star restaurants. It was a great, great gig. And it all kind of happened because of networking. And networking in Kingston is kind of where it started for me. A film company wanted me to do some copy work for them, and it just took off from there. So it's been a whirlwind. I would say the biggest takeaways that I've kind of realized is that it is extremely hard being a woman in business, and it's extremely more difficult being a woman of color in business. I think you have almost something extra to prove, which is so frustrating. Like, you have to be so confident about your services and what you provide, and just know that you're going to get people that just don't really value your opinion. Unfortunately, I've had it happen multiple times, but I've kind of learned at the beginning of opening up a business that I had to fake confidence just to feel more confident. And now it just definitely comes more naturally as I talk about what we do and the journey that's led us here. But it's been hard. We had a lot of quips when we first started, a lot of people saying that we're just students, we don't know what we're doing, even though we weren't students at the time, but we're just young girls, just a hobby project. It's not going to go anywhere. The landlords of our first unit, we once said we wanted to have a natural brick wall at some point because we thought that they were beautiful. And she was like, I think you have bigger things to worry about. You're definitely never going to have a brick or be able to afford a brick wall in your unit. Lo and behold, we have an entire brick wall at our second location. It's kind of out of spite, but we have our brick walls now, and we still have our challenges. Unfortunately, I've had a few interactions at the bank recently where if I'm ever in building clothes, for example, so we're a company that's always in construction, so most of the time I'm covered in paint and I look like a hot mess. But if I go to the bank looking like that, up here in the West End, I've been told to my face before that I looked sketchy, so they wouldn't accept a check that I was giving them. It was a terrible, terrible experience. And that was one of those times where it was hard both being like a young woman and trying to advocate for myself again, and just pushing to see a manager over and over again, them not wanting me to see a manager, just being told that obviously this check is fraudulent. They wouldn't even look into our bank history. This happened like last week. And then I ended up having to get like phone calls back from TD apologizing, like essentially saying that it was like a microaggression and that they apologized for it. But like this happens all the time. So my biggest takeaway, if I could ever say a biggest takeaway about being a business owner, is stand up for yourself, no matter what, even if no one's even challenging you, be confident about what you do. And in those situations where, you know, as a woman, you feel like you're fighting against like the old man's club, especially in Kingston, like stand your ground because other people are watching and other people appreciate it, and you're going to get headway if you stand your ground. I would, even if you feel like you're going too far, you're probably not. just kind of stand in there. So that's my summarized story, I suppose, and some of the lessons I've learned along the way. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask.
Thanks, Melissa. That's a great story. Always nice to hear it. And, you know, so many takeaways from that. And I would say things about the bank, but not right now. Maybe another time. Anyway, I'll open it up for questions. Lots of accolades here on the chat. Does anyone have anything in particular you'd like to ask Melissa? I guess maybe I can roll it off with something. I don't know. What was one of your most satisfying experiences? You said that, you know, you didn't necessarily think that you had an urge to be a business person, but has there been any time since then when you feel like, you know what, I got this, I'm a boss babe, I'm whatever, you know, what was that for you?
I think that actually only happened to me fairly recently. We were projecting our plans for 2021, 2022. And obviously because of COVID, it's so hard to plan for the future. Like I think a lot of business owners right now are going month to month. So even thinking about 2021, 22 just felt like a huge, like who even knows what COVID's going to look like next year? Can we build? Will we have the cash flow to build? What are our contingency plans? And so we decided that we would focus on our partnerships. We thought that was a safe haven. We go after more museums, historic sites, and at the very least, we create outdoor products for them that's safe during COVID, and if not, indoor. So we would have kind of these contingency plans. And like I was talking to a lot of consultants, and they're like, well, you have a really niche product. There's like, I think it's going to be a long-term hustle for you guys. Like it's going to be a really slow burn. And I was like, I really don't think it's going to be a slow burn. And because I'm someone that if someone says no to me, I get really challenged about it, and I accept that challenge and I run with it. So we started contacting historic sites, and like immediately without hesitation, people signed on because of our corporate resume, essentially, because we're the only company in Canada and probably the States as well that has a history of working with historic sites and museums and have certifications to do so. So that was the first moment, I think, where I was like, I've got this. Like I can literally approach any museum or historic site that I would like to and get them to work with me. And it's not as much of a challenge as every single business consultant told me it would be, because we have that proven track record and people have heard us lecture about this in multiple places across the world. So that was like my first like, we've got here. It was our 5th year. We did like the hurdle over our 5th year. And yeah, I would say that was it.
Perfect. Thank you. There's a question from Josephine, and she asked, she's curious as to what your parents think of your business path now.
That's a really good question. It's been a challenge. At first, it was very much like, oh, this is a hobby. She's going to go back into computer science or something at some point. Obviously, I did not. It took a while. It took a few years. They got very upset at me a few years ago because I wasn't choosing to have children right away or get married right away. So that was like the next thing. I'm 29, and according to them, you know, that's really old. How can I not have children yet? I have failed my ancestors. So there was a period where for like a few years, we weren't on really good talking terms because it was almost like they were like, whatever, she's doing whatever she's going to do with her business. But personally, she's not successful yet because she doesn't have children. As of recently, they finally come around to understanding that we're more popular, I think, than they realized. They started reading about us in the news. We hit a lot of Toronto news this year, and they live in Toronto. So I think they were like, aha, this is actually a successful thing. So they are now big supporters of that, and a lot of the freelance work I do. I'm doing some freelance work that has a math background now, so they're on board with that. So,
Hey, and Kim asked, how do you get motivated every day as an entrepreneur?
That's a good question. I'm going to be honest, I'm not motivated every day. There are lots of days where I'm definitely not motivated. Like even this week has been a very challenging week. I swear there's something in the water for most business people I know this time of year, where everyone's just, I think it's burnt out. I think everyone was in adrenaline for the past few months trying to pivot their business hard. And now that things kind of feel like they're settling, everyone's burning out pretty hard. But in terms of motivation, my biggest motivation is my team. We have an incredible team here. Me and my business partner made the decision for the first 3 to 4 years of our business not to really pay ourselves that much and give, I guess, see the financial rewards of having a business, but to completely reinvest it into our team. And our team is phenomenal. We would never have gotten here without them. And even during COVID, it was like, we have to keep going to make sure that our team will have jobs at the end of this. Like, that is my motivation, to make sure that my team is okay. And it's kind of a running joke that we're a family here of over 30 people, but people really truly feel that here. And a lot of people refuse to leave or follow their actual career path, like students after they've graduated, because they feel like this is the safest job they've ever had, like where they feel accepted. We have a lot of oddballs, and I say that in the best possible way. A lot of people that just don't feel like they would fit in other places. So people are my biggest motivation.
Awesome. Thanks, Melissa, for your time and for sharing your experiences and answering any questions that we had. I think it's a great story to hear and a testament to resiliency and determination and, advocating for yourself and what we can do when we do that. So thanks very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Melissa, and thank you, Aba. We move on now to welcome Shani Scott and Lucy Asimota of Munchie Guru. It's a pleasure to welcome Shani Scott and Lucy Asimota, who are co-owners of Munchie Guru in Kingston. Munchie Guru is a Caribbean-inspired catering service specializing in all things delicious. And I mean really delicious. I did check out their Instagram feed. These two women provide their customers with all the beach vacation classic flavors right here at home in Kingston. Their made-to-order meals allows each customer the opportunity to customize their meals exactly to their preferences. Munchie Guru caters office lunches, birthdays, weddings, and offers live chef experiences for small dinner parties. They believe food is the true root of happiness and want to be your guide to a happy belly. I'm getting hungry. Welcome, Shanice and Lucy.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. This morning has been extremely inspiring. Honestly, hearing everybody speak about being an entrepreneur has let me know that I am an entrepreneur myself. Like originally when Carrie had asked me to participate in this, I was kind of wondering, why me? Like my service is just so small, and I never really thought of myself as a business owner and all the things that it takes to be an entrepreneur. But hearing everyone speak about those qualities, and I'm thinking that mirrors my story a little bit. That sounds like me. So it's given me a lot of confidence, and it's just been so wonderful and inspiring to hear everybody's stories and their experiences. And it's just making me feel happy about what I'm doing. And I just wanted to thank everybody, and I appreciate that so much.
Yeah, I second what Shanice said, because a lot of the times I feel like whenever you're going through something new, for us, this is very new, you kind of feel like you're the only one. So being on a platform like this, hearing everyone's story and hearing that everyone's gone through the same kind of struggle and they've made it out and you're doing really, really well is very, very inspiring. And it definitely gives us the push to want to continue, because there have definitely been times where we're like, oh, this is so hard. And sometimes it gets so discouraging. But today, I feel like the fire was
has been relit and like
Yeah.
we're like ready to just like go full throttle.
Definitely. So a little bit about Munchie Guru. It kind of started, I guess, it's hard to say when it started, just as Melissa was saying. I've always enjoyed cooking and I always had a passion for feeding people. And I believe that food is the root of all happiness. When you're never mad at your when your favorite dish is served for you. So I always wanted to do something within food, but it was never necessarily encouraged as a career option for me. My parents, they said you have to be a doctor, a lawyer, or engineer because those are the only things that are deemed responsible and respectable jobs. So personally, I studied psychology in university. Lucy studied civil engineering, and we both got our degrees and we were working in our careers, our respective careers, doing those things. And we were having an okay time, but we weren't happy. So when COVID-19 hit, we both seen a reduction in our hours and thought we had to do something to continue and to survive. And that's when I took a lot of time to focus on my food blog page, which is Munchie Guru. I started posting those pictures and doing giveaways, and I partnered with some food bloggers to gain popularity onto my page. And then eventually I was contacted by Carrie, and we were invited to join the Weekend program, which has been extremely beneficial in the launch of our business and the supporting our business as we're going through some of the beginning stages. That program has been essential to giving us like tips like on accounting, general business management, getting our business pitch and business plan together. And it's been wonderful in that something that started out as just a simple idea and I wanted it to be a business. Now through that program and the mentorship provided through there, we've come out of it with an actual business that is something that will potentially be sustainable throughout the rest of our lives. It's been a wonderful experience because now with those skills and situations like this, we're able to connect with other female entrepreneurs and learn from you guys and also maybe teach you guys something. So it's just been a wonderful time to connect in that way.
Yeah, I completely agree. Weekend has been so like instrumental in the development of the business. At first, when we started the business, like Shani said, it started as a passion. And then I don't think we had an idea what we were doing, just like, yeah, buy and sell. You have a product, people want it, you just sell it. But then through Weekend, we realized there's so many moving parts
to a business
that your business needs to make your business functional for growth and all of that. And what's been great so far is that as we've gone through business so far, we've had challenges along the way. And every time we have a challenge, we can have experts or experts who come on roundtable conversations on Zoom, and they kind of talk us through those problems, and we're able to figure out those problems and kind of like pivot and grow. And so everything has just been going great so far.
Mm-hmm. It's been really awesome. And in business, being like marginalized women, we experience the same things that a lot of you guys were saying, where we go to places and they're not expecting us to be the business owners, or they're giving us certain types of attitudes, and we're just feeling disrespected. And it's like hearing you guys today and like knowing that we're not alone. It's been like going forward, it's great to know that we're handling these situations well, and we've gotten some advice to like continue to handle these situations even better in the future. So we thank you guys for that, and we hope that anybody who has the opportunity to join the Weekend program in the future, or like the Fusion coaching program, I highly suggest joining them, because it's great to know that you're not alone. And when we first started Munchie Guru and first starting try to look into the business license and all those things, we were doing it on our own, and it was kind of difficult. And now that we have these supports, it's just made everything 10 times better. It's given us the motivation to continue, and like we now have the resources to continue. So if you have these opportunities, take them every time. And earlier, as Nadine was saying, just show up and do everything that you can, because if you keep pushing through, eventually it will work, and eventually your success will come. And the more effort you put into something, the universe will bring it back to you. So if you have an idea, you have a passion, don't let outside sources or outside life affect it. Nurture that passion, nurture that dream, and make it grow, because it will. And it's so rewarding to know that what you like to do and what you love to do can grow and can be successful out there in the world if you give it the opportunity. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. That was so inspiring, Shanice and Lucy. You were saying, you were saying about mirroring, and I think a lot of what you brought up, Shanice, I felt myself mirrored in that you're both, studying and working, and then starting this, on this idea, on this passion of yours that you feel inspired about, Manchi Guru, and testing the waters, learning all the moving parts of business. That's how I started way back many years ago. And this is, and we think of being creative or artistic as doing it on a canvas. But I think when we live our lives to the fullest, with all the dimensions that we are present, when we make use of that and bring it forward, we are artists, we are creatives. I think artists and entrepreneurs, they go hand in hand. And it's not just the ones that doing the work and putting up on a canvas, but it's the artistry in making our dreams come true. And I think that's what both of you are doing. So thank you for sharing your story. Very powerful. Thank you. I'm just going to check the chat if there are any questions. I would like to invite the audience, if you have questions, please feel free to type into the chat. So I'm just going to begin with one of mine, and just hearing what he was saying. You mentioned the different moving parts of the business, and I'm just wondering. And you mentioned being, happy about being part of the We Can community and the learning that you have accrued. I'm just wondering, how has that helped you specifically? If you have anything to share with the audience, how has that specifically served you well and to grow in 2020?
Well, I'd say like at the very beginning, we didn't really realize how important it would be to have an actual business plan when actually having a business, right? We kind of had ideas of what wanted to happen. And the very, very first day that we actually sat down and had a conversation about this, Rebecca, one of the ladies who spearheads the business aspect of the program, she made us write down like what we wanted our business to be. So it was the first time where someone had ever asked me to kind of put what we had, the thoughts we had on paper. So then I was like, whoa, like I've actually never actually thought about this. So like there I was, I didn't even know that I knew what we wanted to do. And then I just started writing, and then it was good to just visualize and see everything. And it just kind of kickstarted from there, from like going through like various analysis. I never even knew there were kind of like resources like that, like postal analysis, SWOT analysis, and stuff like that you can kind of like apply to the business, just like how different factors could affect your business. And what that has done for us, I feel like it's helped us like now have like a better idea of where we want the journey for this business to take us, which has been very, very crucial, because as I was planning, financial management, and all that kind of stuff. So for us, that's been really, really, really helpful getting that from the program.
Awesome, awesome. I read in the chat the word courageous comes up. The both of you have courage.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
It is amazing that you have been able to start Manchi Guru in 2020, and the grit, the courage, the resilience that requires, to go forward with a new business. And Karen says, yes, so inspiring. I have a question from Karen, and it goes like this. Starting a food-based business seems hard. From the perspective of food regulations, what was the most challenging part?
Ooh, that is, yes, yes. Starting a food business is hard. Like I thought it was just knowing how to cook and enjoying cooking. No. And that's where Lucy comes in to help me. I'm a creative. If it was up to me, I don't think the Manchi Guru would be where it was at today. Like Lucy really is great at the paperwork. Let's just put it at that. There is a lot of regulations. There's a lot of like the health inspector needs to be on your side. You need a commercial kitchen. There's a list of 100 things. And I found what I watched Lucy go through was having to sort through a lot of paperwork and a lot of what seemed like just too much. Like
right, there's a lot of information to get acclimated with, and what I was finding is like there wasn't a straight path to those informations. Like you go on this website, they tell you one thing, you go on the next website, you get a different information. So trying to like navigate all those information and trying to find out what's the right for your business, right? Because if you're in a food business that requires putting products on shelf, that's a different regulations of having labels and having content and all that kind of stuff. compared to what we're doing, she's just like a food service, then that requires having a commercial kitchen, which for us was very challenging at the beginning because we didn't have any access to a commercial kitchen. And the commercial kitchens that did exist in Kingston were already booked up with other local businesses who had their own scheduled time. So trying to navigate that became really challenging because we wanted to make sure that we're working within the guidelines for the city of Kingston, but also the guidelines for Ontario. And we kind of got lucky in the fact that through branding the business on social media and like a lot of people like talking about us on word of mouth, we were able to partner with a local brewery in Kingston who actually had a commercial kitchen that they offered to us to use. And that was how we were able to
get kickstarted.
Get kickstarted. And luckily enough for us now, we have been able to locate a commercial kitchen. But yes, having to figure out all those regulations was really difficult. And then that's where also we came and kind of like rounded off like all the research that we're doing. Like we were doing research on our own, but like we can just make the process a lot more easier for us by giving us all the resources that we needed. Yeah.
Wow. You both are a powerful team.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I can just feel your energy, Shanice and Lucy. And I think next time, I need food. I just need food. I'm going to recharge you both.
No problem.
Yes.
No problem.
I'm just going to check again if we have another question in the chat. So okay, yes, Carrie's just saying that I feel that a business born in the fire of COVID will emerge as gold. Absolutely. Go Munchie Guru. Well, thank you, Shanice and Lucy. And we feel very privileged to listen to your story and just witness your energy. And I just wanted to thank you for coming on today. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Bye-bye.
All right, I guess we're going to move on to the co-founders of Afia Beauty, Shamsa and Kaltum Hassan. They're based in Kinty West, and together these two sisters are building a brand that reflects their combined passion for natural, organic beauty. Their aim is not just to provide their clients with a wonderful product, but to inspire them to give back to themselves through the act of intentional skincare. Their brand philosophy is that feeling comfortable in your skin is essential to living well. Please join me in welcoming Shamsa and Kaltum. I see one. Shamsa. Hi. I think you have to unmute. Or does Carrie have to unmute you?
Hi. Good afternoon, almost. My name is Shamsa. I am co-founder of Afia Beauty. And my sister, I think we might have just lost her. But I can go ahead and I can start. Thank you guys. I was so honored to be here and to be featured. This has just been amazing. My sister's having a little technical difficulties and hopefully she can join us.
I see her on the call, Shamsa. She should be able to unmute herself. Just, yeah, let me know if I can help, but I do see her on the call.
Okay. Okay.
Looks like she's unmuted herself now. You can start it off.
Hi, sorry, it's my video that's not working.
There she is.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Shamsa. I'll start after.
Okay, so we're two sisters. We share a passion for all things clean and holistic beauty. So the term Afia in Arabic means wellness, and that's really the cornerstone of our brand. And we really strive to provide effective products for our customers, but also our passion is to create engaging and valuable content and information in regards to women's wellness, specifically Black women's wellness. And the reason why we started was actually off of a happy accident. So we started making DIY body products from our kitchen, and we fell in love with formulating and head first into the world of organic skincare. We both became organic skincare formulators, certified organic skincare formulators. And that led us to create our own products and then create our own platform, and then developed a strong, keen interest in clean beauty and natural skincare and wellness. So through this endeavor, we found that many resources and spaces in the clean beauty were really lacking representation of women that look like us and share our perspectives. So we started taking up going to markets, trade shows, and craft fairs. And we were actually really surprised to see from the vendors to the consumers, there wasn't really a whole lot of BIPOC entrepreneurs or people there buying these types of products. So that led us to our entrepreneurial ventures. We're lucky that both my sister and I come from an entrepreneurial family, and our parents, my father was an entrepreneur, my mother is an entrepreneur, and they really were very supportive in us joining. We're also immigrants, immigrant parents, and the stereotypical immigrant parent wants their child to stick to the math and the sciences and to go to school, and we did that. And we still found our way back into entrepreneurship, and we were really lucky that we did have that support there. So statistics show that women of color are starting businesses faster than anyone else, which was very encouraging. So we at Afia Beauty, we're looking to overcome one of the greatest challenges faced by women of color, which is access to capital, and in this theme of visibility and being seen. It is very important for us to be a voice for our communities and ensure adequate representation and diversity. I live in Quinte West. My sister lives in Toronto, and we wanted to just take up space in the clean beauty space. And my sister is going to go take it away with who we serve in our audience.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kaltoum. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Earlier, the video wasn't working for me for some reason. I just want to start off by saying this morning has been just so incredibly inspiring to hear the stories of so many women that look like us and that are killing it in their industries as small businesses and as entrepreneurs. It's been so incredibly inspiring. And a lot of the things that other speakers have said really resonated, and I really echo those same sentiments, especially what the ladies of Munchie Girl just said about just kind of starting and figuring out along the way. That's kind of what we did here at Afia Beauty. We kind of say that we started off by like a happy accident, in the sense that my sister just said, we always knew that we wanted to be entrepreneurs. We just didn't know necessarily what we wanted to do and how we were going to go about it. We just knew we had a passion for clean beauty, and it kind of started off literally. I tell the story of the body butter that I was using a few years ago. It had the texture and the feeling of shea butter, and it worked really well for my skin. Like our skin texture and tone sometimes needs really deep moisture. And I looked at the ingredient list, and it just had so many things I really couldn't pronounce. And I was just kind of thrown at why a simple body butter needed so much fillers in it. And so I kind of told my sister that, and we kind of started like doing like what we call kitchen beauty. So we kind of went on Pinterest and YouTube and kind of DIY'd some different formulas at home, and it just kind of clicked from there. And so we kind of dove headfirst into first formulating and learning really intricately about ingredients, about how they're harvested, about how to source them, about how to formulate them ethically, and create products sustainably. And then it kind of became a business from there. And that's kind of like the origin story of Afia Beauty. And we definitely kind of just started and figured things out along the way. And definitely Weekend program, the Rural Mentorship Program, has helped us so much in terms of the business aspect. I kind of agree with Shanice and Lucy obviously, like, I'm very much of a creative person, and my sister is very good at kind of the books and the planning and the written stuff. And so we kind of balance each other that way. My background is I'm a registered nurse, and I've been working as a nurse for almost 5 years now. And as much as I do love nursing, and as much as I find it like a really fulfilling career, I definitely was always a creative person, and I was kind of lacking that creative outlet. And so AFIA just really, it really helped with that. And we're still very small, and, imposter syndrome tells us that, we're not doing enough, or we're not as far as we need to be, but we're definitely proud of all that we've done so far, especially in light of COVID. And yeah, so I'm just going to continue talking about, sorry, I lost things here, about kind of our why. So as we started off in these different environments like markets and craft fairs and trade shows, we noticed like not a lot of people really look like us. We were a lot of the times like the only Black women, or one of few Black women present as vendors. And especially in the wellness industry, we kind of were thrown by the fact that there seemed to have been kind of this one singular lens of wellness. When we talk about wellness to our family and friends, it almost seemed like they didn't see themselves as a part of this, because, there's the concept of thinness, of whiteness, of yoga studios and overpriced athletic wear, organic food, and it just kind of portrayed this exclusivity. And this is particularly damaging because it sells wellness as exclusive, overpriced, and unattainable to most women, when in fact it's very broad and multifaceted, and it should be available for everyone. It kind of portrays a fixed image of what it looks like to be healthy and to be well. And in terms of BIPOC women, particularly Black women, they're oftentimes under-resourced and historically excluded from the wellness industry. In fact, Black women are known to experience negative health outcomes at a much higher rate than their white counterparts, due to several reasons, like environmental toxins from personal care products, coupled with a lack of mental health support and stigma in the community, institutionalized racism, and implicit bias of healthcare workers, which I can personally attest to as a nurse. Women of color often fall through the cracks, and there are fewer spaces created to their unique needs and well-being. And due to their unique lived experiences and perspectives and the historically exclusionary practices, it's imperative that wellness is accessible to Black women across the varied spectrum of the industry, including fitness, nutrition, mental health services, personal care, clean beauty, mindfulness, etc. So we say here at AFI Beauty, because one thing that we really trying to push is intentional beauty and self-care, but not in a kind of commercial way, but as in realness, that in order to truly begin the process of self-care, a person needs to feel safe. That's the most important thing. And so something as simple as knowing that your body, your skin, your hair, your cultural norms are welcome and understood is often a privilege that a lot of us don't get to experience. I'll give it to Shamsa.
So we quickly learned that our work transcends making skincare products. We wanted to explore the concept of bringing, as my sister said, intentionality to an often mundane part of the day, which is your skincare routine. So we understand that our customers can greatly care about the type of products they use and want to know that their products are not only effective, but that they're made with sick ingredients, and they promote a sense of mindfulness, and are formulated ethically and sustainably, all while representing women of color. So it became, it's something that I think we can all just take a few minutes during the day, and we have little videos of just how to, properly cleanse your skin and prep your skin and make sure that it is ready for the day, and just bring back that mindfulness as a way, as therapy almost, that is free to you and that you can use in your own safe space at home. So it really just kind of became our mission to educate our local community on what is going on in the everyday products that they use, the political, the socioeconomic, and harmful health impacts of their beauty cabinet. And although beauty has a playful connotation to it, it really is a huge part of our identity, especially as Black women, and it really informs a lot of decisions about how we feel about ourselves. And it is important that to us, when our customers encounter our brand, our wellness-based business that they see on a non-verbal level, that all walks of life, all skin tones, and all ages feel included. Beauty and wellness is for everyone, and we strive to provide an inclusive wellness community that advocates for holistic healing. So lessons learned, well, we're a small business growing through the era of COVID, and you know, we have been so incredibly fortunate to have the resources through Weekend to really take our business and just scale it in a really sustainable way. We're so lucky that we've been able to pivot and adapt like many of the entrepreneurs here. And moving through this challenging time has really given us permission to really focus on our education and embrace technology and go online, which was huge and monumental for our business. It has allowed us to encounter so many different people across the country and engage with different people that we might have not had the opportunity to do so via our small trade shows and craft shows that we've been attending. I think keeping the, do you want to talk about the imposter syndrome, Kulthum? Because you do such a good job.
Yeah. Well, like honestly, even just speaking at this event today, we just felt like when Carrie reached out to us, like, oh my gosh, like we don't have the authority to kind of speak on something like this, even though we have our own experiences as a woman-owned business. It's just constantly reminding ourselves that we're worthy and we're here for a reason. We have our unique perspective and we deserve to take up space. I think sometimes we have a hard time kind of learning our worth and kind of just demanding that, you know, and like a lot of other speakers kind of mentioned today about just kind of the bias or just the kind of, what's the word, the prejudice that we experience as women of color entrepreneurs, that people think, okay, but who's really the boss? Or, you know, we've had our own experiences of not being taken seriously. And we constantly feel like we have to really overcompensate and really do the absolute most to be kind of considered on an even playing field. So it's definitely something that we are working through constantly. And we really, because especially as Black women, we tend to experience imposter syndrome due to historical and institutionalized messages conveyed to us that we aren't enough, that we don't belong, and we will never be as successful or as deserving of our male counterparts or women of other races. So it's definitely something that we are constantly trying to work through. And I think it's gotten us really far because the moment we started believing in ourselves and like truly believing in ourselves, that's when our business really started to grow. We actually did the most amount of growth during COVID era, which is really surprising to us. But it's kind of when we were forced to try new things. We were forced to launch our website. We were forced to kind of seek other avenues to be heard and to be seen. And so we're really grateful for that. Mm-hmm. And yeah.
And sorry, I think lastly, something that was echoed, what Nadine said was, you know, like innovation and staying creative in your business. And also Elizabeth had just mentioned this before, just protecting your creative energy. As entrepreneurs, we are creatives. As women, we are creators. Creativity is, I read somewhere that creativity is a natural extension of your enthusiasm. So to stay enthusiastic about what we do and constantly create and spark innovation that allows us to stay competitive and also really allows us to continuously love what we do. And, you know, like Nadine said, it's like you innovate or you die as a business, and constantly, you know, thinking about ways that we can grow and innovate and stay on top of our game as in natural skincare has really helped us pivot and move forward.
Awesome. Thank you very much to you both, Shamsa and Kulthum. It's great hearing your perspectives and your stories, and there's so many questions, and the chat is just blowing up with a lot of enthusiasm and congratulatory messages. So I want to get through some of them. And the first question is, are you going to be focusing solely on Black wellness or BIPOC wellness, or BIPOC wellness with a focus on Black wellness?
So we want to make our brand very inclusive of everybody, but we definitely at the forefront of our mind is always representation. You know, there's hundreds of other brands that are doing the same thing as us, but they're not us, right? So I think first and foremost, we do it for the BIPOC community, but it doesn't mean we're excluding any other communities. It's just more, we want people that look like us to be seen through our business, if that makes any sense. Yeah, I don't know if Shams has anything to add to that.
No, that's exactly right.
Great. Are there any other questions in the chat for Afia Beauty? Maybe I'll ask. So what has been, you said in COVID, you've been forced to kind of believe in who you are and what you stand for. Was there something that just kind of triggered it, or the whole kind of forced experience that we all have now because we have to be a little bit more reflective and kind of confined? What was it that made you spark that ownership of who you are?
Honestly, I think it was both of our own like personal experiences. For me, like obviously working as a nurse in the peak of the pandemic, it was really like when I had to wake up and go to work in March every single day, when most people had the privilege of kind of being in the comfort of their own homes and having to go and work with a disease that nobody really knew anything about. That was really terrifying for me and for my family. And it just kind of, it just made me feel like, it really made me feel like my business really has to succeed because I don't want to do this anymore. You know, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I think, and my sister, you know, she was on, I guess she can answer her perspective, but she was on mat leave for a while, and she just also kind of wanted to go all in on her business and not keep doing the balance of, you know, being a full-time mom, full-time employee, and a full-time entrepreneur. It's always trying to find that balance. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other questions? All right, well, I thank you for your time, for sharing your story, for the intentions behind it and the truth and the power behind why you're creating it. I think that resonates very much and comes true in your delivery and also in what you are doing. Just thanks very much for taking the time and sharing that with us here today. And don't go too far because I'm sure there may be more questions that come up at the end of the chat. So hopefully you're available to answer those as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me here. And Carrie, thank you so much for your leadership. This has been such a great event, and all the small businesses that were highlighted. And Nadine, what a powerhouse. And Abena, that poem still stays with me. Thank you for that.
We come to the last but not the least of our spotlight speakers. Someone I've gotten to know in the past few weeks, someone I've developed some big respect for, and whose smile is always over 1,000 watts and fills me up when I have the privilege of speaking with her. I want to introduce Aba Mortley, co-host of Fusion, entrepreneur, very passionate entrepreneur, and owner of Cher-Mere Day Spa in Kingston. The name Cher-Mere, and before I start, I should actually say when I read what Aba brought forward in terms of how she would like to be introduced, it was a beautiful and touching story that I'm going to share with you right now. Here it goes. The name Cher-Mere is a play on the words, dear mother. And that really touched me. So I'm just going to go back here and begin. Cher-Mere was started over 30 years ago by Aba Mortley's mother, Cheryl Bowles, who is a biochemist by profession. At the time, Aba's mother was the chief chemist for Nestle. Cheryl was encouraged by her mother, Merle, who was a hairdresser and esthetician, to leave her job. Aba's grandmother wanted her mother to make natural products that would be an alternative to the foreign products that were brought into the country at that time. Aba's mother took a leap of faith and did just that. The name Cher-Mere is a play on the words dear mother, but really it is a combination of Aba's mother's name, Cheryl, and her grandmother's name, Merle. Now, years later, Aba Mortley is a part of the family business with 2 locations in Kingston, where the Cher-Mere brand name products are offered with spa services. Her business has recently actively started to engage in online sales of the products. Aba believes in community and collaboration, so she has also created the YGK box to support and promote other local businesses. Aba, welcome.
Hi, everyone. Thanks. This was kind of thrown on me, by the way, yesterday, really late last night. So just bear with me. But I guess I just want to say thanks for being here. It's been so inspiring just listening to everybody chat. And, you know, the question of when people knew, I feel like I was born into business, you know? And so I never really had an aha moment other than obviously this is what I was going to do. And to speak to what Melissa said, like I was totally that kid when he said, what do you want to do? I'd be like, I'm going to be a dancer like this person, an architect. I'm going to build this. I'm going to make products. And I feel that's how I live my life. I think, you know, I am always doing things. I am inspired. The busier that I am, the better, and the more I think I'm able to achieve. And that's kind of my motto. And so, yes, we have this business, and it's great, and it's been quite interesting being here in Kingston. We've been here for 8 years, but as I mentioned, you know, I grew up in the business. So I grew up doing trade shows with my mom and being that person. We would have like a chart, and it would have all the herbs that we had in it. And I would quiz people like, what's this herb for? What else can you use it? Where do you get it? You know, and that was my spiel. You know, I was the Vanna White of the herbal poster of the ingredients that we had in our products. And from then, you know, we started our business in the back of our house, which we then built a factory. But the aloes and the ratchet that we would use would be in our yard. So we'd have to go out and pick the aloe, and we'd always have people dropping off aloe plants so that we can continuously have a supply. We refined that a little bit more, but I remember as a kid, we used to actually have to cut the skin of the aloes, and it has a very bitter part. So if you got it on your hands, like it's a little bit tricky. And then we strain the aloes in cheesecloth, and that was kind of the process of like the things that we had to do to get there. And then mixing it and bottling it, and then as a kid growing up, instead of going out with my friends, I would spend the night like timing how quickly I could label products or how precisely I can get something to the 100 gram in an efficient manner. And so that was my life growing up. And then as we moved from the products, we started opening spas to use the products in Trinidad. And I started to do aesthetics. And then I started to do the accounting part of it. And then I started to do marketing. So I feel like I went through every aspect of the business so that I feel I can speak to all the different levels of it. And it's really a family business. So like, you know, people talk about their family, and I guess I'm an immigrant to Canada, but like my family has always been, you can have a business, you can do whatever you want, you can be who you want to be, and we'll support you. And I feel that I'm very fortunate in that way. And so, but saying that, I was never forced. Like I never felt like my family said or my mother said, you have to continue that. There was never a push that this was something that I had to do, which allowed me, I think, to do all the things that I did do. So I came from my undergrad, I did engineering because half the people in our family are engineers, and I thought that was interesting. Why not? And then after engineering, I was approached to do my master's and my PhD at RMC. And I looked at it was in the nuclear field, but really it was looking at castor oil, how we could like use castor oils for coating, for protections. And I did that because I thought it was really neat and it was really interesting. And then I was like, what should I do now? And I was like, oh, I'll teach a little bit. And I'm like, well, how can I incorporate what I'm doing with my family? Because I would still all the way through do things for my business or my family's business in Trinidad. And some of my friends had come and they're like, just open a spa. And I was like, yeah, let's open a spa. That sounds like a great idea. I was also caveat pregnant with my third kid. And I think I totally had like mom brain and probably should have done a little bit more research as to, you know, how many spas there are and what there is there. But I think to me, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. It's going to succeed. I'm going to just open up a spa. And I think what you put out in the universe is kind of what you also get back. So I remember we had looked at different spaces and I'm like, geez, the rent in Kingston is insane. And we were going to sign a lease. And then my other two kids wanted donuts. And I decided I'm making these mini donuts. Remember, I'm in mommy brain here. So I go to the store downtown and I buy these mini donut pans and I look across the street and I see for sale this building. And I was like, oh, this is kind of a cute building. This would be great. And I would say it was a challenge. Talking about challenges, I said, I'm going to buy that building. It was like a gong show because I think having to advocate for myself and not having a specific job that gave me, I always tell people I could probably have worked at McDonald's and gotten that building quicker than what it was. Like it went past the date. The banks didn't even, they asked for every single invoice that we've ever had and any kind of details in our business. They went past the closing date, so we had to ask for an extension. It was insane. And so I think just the fact that we can have things like that and the support that we have here in this program is phenomenal. And I think that for me, part of the thing in our business at Cher-Mere, both in Trinidad and here, is that we always have a big sense of community. What are you giving back? And so for us, because the products, we know work, we've been doing it for 30 years. We try to be respectful in the materials and the packages that we're using. We use post-consumer recyclable stuff. We use solar panels on the plant in Trinidad where we make them. My mom thanks people for using extra paper. Like, she's very diligent about these types of things. And for me, it's really about a family. Like Melissa spoke to that, and that's what, you know, my team at the spa, my team in Trinidad, that's what continues to motivate me. But I also feel like in Kingston, you have to be there and support each other. So if I'm a business and I'm doing it and my neighbor is not there and somebody else I know is not working, then what's the point of doing it? I can't be like a silo in isolation. And so COVID has been quite interesting for us because obviously we do a lot of personal care services at the spa. And because I had been finishing a PhD and having a lot of children, we didn't really have the focus of marketing our products online because I was like, this is too much to do and so much I can do on my plate at once. But not only has it allowed us to do that, but really I've been trying to collaborate with other businesses to see how we can help each other. So we came up with the YGK box. And so it had things from Kingston Olive Oil and Company and a restaurant and sustainable coffee from Northside Espresso and a mug that was made. And then recently, last night, we've been working on it and trying to get Munchie Groove, but she's busy. But on the next iteration of it, we are doing a callaloo box. The callaloo is like a dish in Trinidad. It's a mixed dish with a lot of different things in it. And so that's what it is. It's a box for BIPOC businesses. And the intention of that box is to feature any Black-owned businesses. So you can get my stuff from Carrie if you're interested in being in any other iteration of it. We just put the first one up today on our website. We're gonna kind of launch that here later in the week. But and with proceeds of that box going to Black-owned initiatives and nonprofits. So that's the idea behind it. So not only having a space and not discounting the value of the products, because we're not asking for any type of severe decrease because we're not taking anything, or I'm not taking anything from it, but more of a promotion and a collaboration and a celebration of these businesses and a way to give back. I just think it's very important now more than ever to continue to do so. And even with our products and the way that we do things, we always try to do things for community. So we were part of the 100 Women Who Care. I volunteered for youth diversion for over 20 years. And for Black Friday, for example, instead of giving a discount, we are going to donate 20% of any of our online sales. So versus giving a 20% discount, we're going to give a 20% donation of all online sales to United Way, specifically for their meal program. So always looking at ways to give back to the community is kind of how I focus. I think we're as strong as the weakest link, and anything that we can do to kind of help each other, whether it's in business or in a community, that's the way that I try to run my business and my life. And I do sit on many boards, and I think Nadine mentioned the importance of it. And it's great because sometimes it is a lot of work. And there are a lot of people, particularly in Kingston, on boards that is a very much old boys type of club. But I think, you know, it is important to be there. It's important to show up and show representation. And it's important to change those stereotypes of what people think of you. you know, I still have people on board to say, wow, you're always really loud and have different hair color. Yeah, okay. And what's your point? The value and the worth of what I'm bringing and what I'm keeping you accountable is still there, regardless of what my hair looks like today or what I have on and where do you think, you know, I am doing. And so, so that's kind of that in a nutshell. And I guess coming back to the community and discussions of race and discussing that, particularly in Kingston, where I think there are many microaggressions with respect to everything, I started the Let's Talk Kingston panel. And so the Let's Talk Kingston panel, we started off with our first chat with the mayor, with partner from United Way, and a series of really accomplished Black, Indigenous, people of color talking about their experiences in Kingston. And I think it was really good because it showed a spotlight and it really resonated with people to not have that ignorance to say that doesn't happen here, because here are people who you can see and who you respect in your environment saying that these are the things that are happening. So trying to have those conversations to continue to improve our community and what it is that we're here. And so I'm so happy that, you know, the fusion is here, that the coaching is here, that we're able to network and to be part of this. And so yeah, I welcome any questions that people have, and I'll try to answer it as best as I can.
Thank you, Aba. Amazing. It's your energy and everything that you spoke about. It's just you know, it's your community giving that really stands out for me, that you're always thinking of the one next to you and in front of you, and everything that you do kind of, you know, brings that together, your entrepreneurship and your volunteering. I'm going to check the chat and see if there are any questions for you. Leah Riddle says, love your energy, Aba. Lots of great comments. Bridget says, thank you for starting the spa. I think we're going to make a beeline for your spa very soon. I did see the holiday boxes, the stay-at-home spa boxes. Am I right? If I remember right?
Yeah, we have.
Yes, I haven't had a pedicure for months.
Yeah, no, it's been great actually. So, you know, same with Melissa. Like, I wanted to make sure that we had the same group of people that we had in our spa at the end of COVID. And like, if I can do different things that can support us, but if we can't do that in a personal sector, but in a different way, but then I can have my girls come in and they could make boxes and still feel motivated to do something and still feel motivated to be part of a community and that they are valued, then we would do that. And then also still, while, you know, giving that back to the community. So these boxes were really well received and people were really receptive to having it and to having them delivered, and we do free delivery in Kingston, and so they've been great.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's the thought, as I was just going through your website, I just you know, realized the thought that has gone into providing the products and the services that are at Cher-Mere Day Spa, and I think that is going to resonate with a lot of people. You know, not just now for the holiday season, but going into 2021, and the pivoting that has happened. I mean, I saw ideas in just everything that was, you know, listed on the website, and it's great. And I think other female entrepreneurs, you know, can learn from the process that you've already gone through and put solutions out there for your business. So that's just awesome. Okay, just gonna check the chat once again.
No questions, everyone's got it.
I think so much. I mean, the synergy has been palpable. This whole event, and you know, we're just soaking and absorbing, and I think we're at a point where we are precipitating, because we are past saturation. We are precipitating right now, and then something is evolving out of that. Everyone's mind is working, but you know. Thank you. And I just want to mention, I mean, I'm a visual person, and I'm seeing all these colors, you know, around you, and what you're wearing is, and your glasses, and the red lipstick. Nadine spoke about the red lipstick.
Red is my favorite color. Red is my favorite color.
That's what you said. Yeah. Power, passion, creativity, all of that comes together. Well, Aba, thank you so much. And we're going to move on to our next segment, which is our formal session ends right now. And we're moving on to our next segment, where the virtual floor is going to be open for a general Q&A with our WeCan project manager, Kerry Ramsey, and the rest of the speakers for the day. And Aba, I invite your co-hosting along with me. So we would like to invite the audience members, if you have any questions, we just request that you just come forward, unmute yourself. You could raise your hand. You could use the, is that what it's called, emoticons or emojis, and just raise your hand, unmute yourself, and we'll just take the questions as they come. So it's an open virtual floor, and we're hoping for a lot of engagement, because we're going to cover, and if you have questions about weekend programs and resources beyond the Fusion coaching program, Kerry would love to answer that. If you have any knowledge sharing required from our speakers and their businesses and what they have done in 2020 to pivot their business, we also, of course, will speak about the Fusion coaching program if you have questions about that. And Eileen and myself are here to answer any questions. So here we go.
So this, you can unmute yourself if you have a question, or you can put it into the chat. We'll pause. We'll give our interpreters a moment's rest. They have been working so hard.
They have done an amazing job. Thank you so much.
They have, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw, oh, sorry, go ahead, Eileen. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I think people are soaking it in.
Okay. I have a question that I want to put out just for any of the business owners who are on the call, because not everyone had a chance to be showcased today. How can we help you to promote your, what is one thing, you can put this in the chat as an answer, or is there somebody who just wants to say, here's how I think we can help each other moving forward? Is there something, we're all ears and listening today if you have any suggestions, because we don't want today to end here. This is the beginning, not the end. One thing I'd invite as well, if you have a business and it hasn't been shared yet, do put your link into the chat, because we're all looking for ways to support local right now. You've had some great suggestions. I'm also itching just to get online, maybe this afternoon, maybe after work, and do some online shopping with what I've seen already. Any questions at all?
Mm-hmm. Kerry, I think I want to bring forward something that Sunita Gupta has asked. Will the event recording be shared?
Yeah, so I have put my email address, and if anyone wants a copy of today's recording, it will actually be uploaded to our YouTube channel, but I will send you a link to that YouTube channel. And so you'll see not only today's event, but any other workshop that we've held recently that's been recorded, and there might be some value in some of those for you for sure.
There's a question from Sandra about how about the processes and systems set out specifically for LinkedIn and other social media. There's a system and it's hard to navigate and activate as a system.
So if the question is navigating LinkedIn, I'm thinking that's what your question is, Sandra. One thing I'll suggest is if you do email me for that YouTube link, we had a great session on LinkedIn with Jennifer Baker Consulting, who is a Kingston-based woman-owned business. I think it's 2 hours she spent really explaining how to navigate LinkedIn. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sandra, if that helps with the question. But what I loved is that she spoke directly to our weekend audience. And you're right, LinkedIn isn't simple, but she gives a great step-by-step. Would that be helpful if I share that with you?
Yes, it would be, Carrie. I've just started tipping my toes into the LinkedIn, and I have to go and look at all their tutorials and get that. But apparently there's a great use of filters that I'm not familiar with as well, where you can actually, once you know what your ideal client is, then you can actually go in and filter by all these different things. And that, I think, for me, is where I would need to go in terms of moving my coaching business forward.
And that probably is not a free service. That is going to be the paid version of LinkedIn. I'm 99% sure about that. So okay. If anyone else wants to chime in, that's a great question. Please do drop an answer in the chat. Thank you. Chantel mentioned that she's with the Empowered Path. It was at the beginning of the workshop and I failed to get her link in there. Thank you, Chantel, for that.
I would like to share something here about LinkedIn. I personally, I'm still coming to grips with social media and learning along the way. What I did way back in 2018 was that I worked on just creating my LinkedIn profile and putting in what is relevant for me and what I want people to know. And it needn't be anything too complicated. So do have a good profile picture on, put in that header at the top, kind of with a tagline for your business, just put in a good summary. Those are very important because as you're commenting, liking, people are going to kind of connect with you and kind of check out your profile. Do comment, just liking or just, putting, a comment in is even more valuable because people sees your name, they see your profile and they check in with you and they want to know who you are and they check in with your profile. So that has really worked for me in terms of posting regularly. In fact, I have read that you have to post a few times a day. I don't get around to doing that, but I do comment and I do post and you like company profiles, organization, individuals who you want to maybe at a future date develop a relationship, because it is, even though it is a professional platform, we are all people there. And I think developing relationships over time and, having that good profile, and that's really all you need, because let's face it, we are all busy. And as independent professionals and, and solopreneurs, we're wearing so many hats. How much time do we have for all these social media? So just being authentic. And I think some of us spotlight speakers have brought that on, choose one social media platform. If it is LinkedIn for you, great. If it is Instagram, great. And then move on from there, try another one, but definitely be authentic. Do what works for you. Over time, I have found that if I try to do everything that everyone is saying to do, I am done. So I know I'm limited in certain ways and respect what I can do. So I just choose what I can do, but I do it consistently with authenticity, so that connection is moving ahead, that professional relationship.
Yeah, that's great.
I just wanted to share.
I think the other thing I explore on Facebook, but I expect my professional to go over to LinkedIn. So I'm experimenting on, and I'm of the generation that Facebook is the easier one for me, and the LinkedIn will be my professional one. I just don't fit with the Instagram and so on because I wouldn't even think to get on there enough to matter.
Yeah. Yes, you have to choose what really works for you, and that's awesome that you found yours. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to echo what Elizabeth said about being on LinkedIn. It is one of the places where there's a lot of activity. So in addition to doing the likes and commenting, make sure you use some hashtags. So whatever is interesting for your business. So for me, leadership, leadership, hashtag coaching, hashtag whatever, and that'll lead you into other places that will be very, very helpful with regards to your business. And keep it simple. You don't need to be everywhere all the time. And I think I saw someone in here asked about frequency. You don't have to post something every day, but whatever you do post, make sure that it's meaningful and it's authentic. And people will gravitate to that. I spent a lot of time trying to be everywhere and be everything to everybody. And it's exhausting. So just really make it something that you want to do that's near and dear to your heart and will be near and dear to your customer. And another thing I'm learning about LinkedIn, it's not about you and what you offer, it's about your customer. What do they want? What problem do they have that your business can solve? So, trying to be everything to everybody wasn't working for me, but what about finding out what your customers need and really sort of talk to that?
So the hashtag thing is just kind of like a hyperlink, which I would be familiar with in tagging in Facebook or anything. It just kind of tags the...
It brings, so it depends. Hashtag works different ways for different platforms, but it brings awareness to what you're hashtagging. So if you're going to hashtag leadership, anything that has to do with leadership or has the word leadership will be attracted to your site. And also too, when you're commenting, use the @sign. So when I comment on something that Carrie posts, I would say, thank you, Carrie, @Carrie Ramsey, so that she gets it. And anybody else that's linked to her also gets it. And it's about, like Elizabeth said, building relationships. And the more that you get involved in that, the better your relationship will, the bigger growth will happen with the folks that you want to tap into.
Yeah.
Terrific.
And Leah put a note in the chat as well, which I think is worthwhile. She talked about Twitter. And I think that if we're looking from a business perspective, LinkedIn and Twitter are probably the most quote unquote business tools, unless you are reaching customers directly. If you're reaching customers, Instagram and Facebook are maybe where you want to spend your time. But if you're doing a B2B type business, and I think that, Ozzy is just writing something as well. B2B, Twitter and LinkedIn would be where you want to look. So Aba, over to you. Sorry, there's a question I think here as well. Maybe it's a comment.
Question to me?
Oh, I just thought you might want to read it. I don't know.
I'm like trying to go through all.
Just the last one from Azzy. It might be a comment.
So it just says, to add to Elizabeth, make sure if your business is a B2B or B2C, then decide you're using platform based on your audience. So for product-based businesses, still Instagram is one of the most powerful ones, which leads to you to sell. Don't forget, you should be a great storyteller.
Absolutely. And about that storyteller. So when I post, I usually post things that is meaningful to me. And it's about a story, something that has happened this week. I walk every day. So if I see something that triggers something and it starts to a story, someplace I've been or would like to go, that's the kind of stuff that people really want to connect with you with.
Yes, and I'll agree with you, Eileen. Whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram, telling a story is a powerful way to communicate. I mean, all through the ages and across cultures, the storytelling by using language, rhythm of music, dance, theater, the written word. We love stories as humans. We want to know more. We're curious by nature. So telling a story, and doing what works for you. And putting it out there in a way that is representing your brand, that definitely helps. And images tell stories along with the written word. Use both. Instagram, of course, is image rich. I'll be honest and say I do not have Instagram. I just stuck with Facebook and LinkedIn. But over there you can use a combination of words and images. So yeah, once again, do what is easy. I love, that little red button that says that was easy. That needs to be easy for us. We wear many hats. Yeah, thank you, Annie.
I agree, images for sure. People, and when I'm scrolling through, I'll look at pictures and I think it's amazing to see all the different pictures that people have before I read the story. So definitely add an image to your story when you're posting.
Yeah. And add those hashtags, and definitely in LinkedIn, as Eileen said, put the @sign and the name, because actually the other person will get a notification. And then we become curious, we check your profile, we want to reach out, connect, and you're building community right there. Yeah. And Leah's talking about videos. Yes, caption for the signing embed, very important.
All right, well, go ahead. Sorry, Elizabeth, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. I was just looking if we have any more questions.
While you're just pausing, because we're almost wrapped, I just want to say how amazing you all are for hanging on. This was a long session, longest we've ever held for Weekend. And it's to the credit of your co-hosts who have kept us and the speakers and everyone. But we're almost ready to wrap. So if there is any last minute questions, I'm also going to put a note in the chat. To Leah's point, we have learned so much about accessibility in these remote working situations right now. We actually have a workshop coming up on December 10th that talks about fostering belonging in a remote workshop or in a remote work scenario. So I'm going to drop the link to that, and in case anyone's interested in that, which is coming up. So I'll leave it over to you, Aba and Elizabeth.
Well, I think we're almost at the end of our truly amazing Fusion event. It feels like the morning after Christmas. We are filled in so many ways with everything that has been shared. Powerful stories, words, experiences, nuggets of wisdom and insight for us female entrepreneurs from diverse backgrounds. I would like to take this opportunity for really showing our appreciation and giving thanks to amazing Carrie Ramsey for everything that she does for the We Can project, and for us, the amount of work that an event like this and the programming and the resources and tools that I put out there, it requires, and the social media and building of community that this requires. It's an amazing platform. It is an amazing resource. It's an amazing corner that we can come together and we can connect and everything that comes out of that connectivity. So thank you, Carrie, so much for this and for inspiring us to be here today and to put this together. Thank you.
Such an honor, such a privilege. And I don't want to leave without acknowledging Seika has her hand raised somewhere.
Hi,
there she is. There she is. Hey, Seika.
Hi. So I wanted to take this moment to thank all of you for showing up and doing this. My daughters were running around and they were so happy to see representation on screen. They were like, wait a minute, Mom, wait a minute. Where, you know, and we reside in the Bay of Quinte area. So, you know, they recognize some of the speakers as we've met in person with them. So thank you to We Can for hosting this, because representation is so important and it really helps to feel connectedness in rural spaces. So thank you. And out of this, I mean, there was a question saying, what do we want out of this? And something I would enjoy is a forum like this where there is I mean, majority of us here are from the BIPOC community. And I think it would be great for all of us to network and form maybe like a monthly wellness check-in or something through We Can, where, you know, we check in and we see how are we doing spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and where could we use a little bit of boost in energy and be there for one another. Especially everyone here identifies as women, so I thought that was also really special to be in this safe environment. So thank you, We Can, Carrie. I would name everybody, but all of you who are here, Aba, Elizabeth, Josephine, whoever's on my first stream, Kaltum, Shamsa, Eileen, all of you, thank you very much for hosting this. It was really special.
It's an awesome idea, Seika. We'll take that back to the drawing board. You can count on it.
All right, I think we have to just about wrap this up. And so I guess, you know, this was a very moving from the get-go, with Abena's speech all the way down to hearing all the different stories. I think it resonated well for me. And I think by the comments, everyone else, you know, we appreciate We Can putting this on. Carrie, as Elizabeth mentioned, Elizabeth, Nadine, and all the different speakers and everyone for your input. I think it was a phenomenal session and I was so happy to be part of it. And thank you for your time and for your presence and for your energy here. I think it will motivate and to continue to motivate a lot of us moving forward. And I'll throw it over to Elizabeth to end off with her parting words.
Thank you, Aba. I just want to put out there that We Can project has a LinkedIn page. On Facebook, there is the We Can project page. There is also, if you're a We Can client, as Carrie said, you are invited to be part of the We Can Women Entrepreneurs group on Facebook. So please check those out and where you would like to join us. The conversation continues, the solutions continue. We are a revolution, we are a movement, and we go forward with fire in our heart and our bellies and each other to keep us inspired. Here, 2021, we come. We can. Women entrepreneurs can. Thank you,
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye.